Are we alive or do we have games on our phone?
We are
Do we
live.
have game?
We are game.
We have game.
We are
Yay!
game and we are live.
Hello, YouTube.
Good girl.
I'm gonna be enjoying my lunch while we do this.
Empty.
Let's see. Right now we have 0 viewers. Why is that? I'm
It's
far
okay.
too entertaining to have 0 viewers.
Wait, you literally can't have 0
It's
viewers.
the
I'm
Sunday
in the
before
chat.
Thanksgiving,
Alright,
you
so
see.
it's simply
I
not
am too.
updating very quickly. Alright, it's not
Yeah.
telling me how many viewers we have. Sudo is here.
Yeah.
Sudo.
Yeah, I think
Woo.
there's something wrong.
Pseudopod.
Love that. Hello, Scrub. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Squirrel.
Scrub will just be joining through chat.
That's
Scrub, did you
fine.
watch the anime?
With me. Everyone in YouTube has my mic. Everything sound good? What's up?
I feel so
dude?
lost
Garlic
without
breads.
Scrub here.
What are we gonna do? I feel more surprised by Jack. Actually, I'm not surprised by it. Jackson doesn't appear that many times, so it's not too surprising. Even
been
when
pretty
his
consistent
show
lately.
wins. You think?
He's
It's actually
like-
just been like 2 months at most.
In a row?
I'm gonna. Incredible.
See, Jackson's actor is very expensive, so the writers kind of got to work around that.
So true.
Yeah, that makes sense. I buy it.
No, wait, what are we talking about? He has been here for the Zom 100 stream, and he doesn't have any nomination before that. The last one is Tatami Galaxy. So last time before that was Kokoro Connect. That was in February.
Yeah, we remember Kokoro Connect.
We're building up the
guys.
lore.
A little quiet, huh? I can fix that. With a little turn of a knob.
Woo!
Alright, let me pull up the episode summaries. No game, no life.
Hooray. We start with overalls, don't we?
We sure do.
Hooray.
Oh, light novel is still running. Okay. Manga's still running. Anime isn't
The light
over.
novel is still
Wait,
running?
it's still going?
Well, it says here on the
Yeah.
Wikipedia article, light novel April 2012 to present, manga January 2013 to present.
Dude, this
Oh my
this
goodness.
show came out 10 years ago.
Sure did. I thought
Yeah.
that the
It's
anime was
still
still running. I'm
going.
like, man, that's optimistic.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Volume 12 came out last year, so
Dude,
I think
if
it's
Devil
really
is a
still on.
part-timer,
Slow?
if Devil's a part-timer could get a second season after like 8 years, No Game No Life could get a second season after
You're right.
10. I
You're
believe.
absolutely right.
I believe.
Still holding out for that second season of Oron.
Yeah,
The other half of the manga.
You know that
Well,
one.
that's
you, might,
optimistic.
you might never
The
get that
manga's
one, unfortunately.
complete.
I think it's more likely to get remade.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be better for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, they'll give it the fruits baskets treatment.
And you know
That
what?
would be
That's also
interesting.
okay with me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like you as a person.
Whoa. Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Hello,
Yeah.
everyone on YouTube. Let me open Streamlabs again because this got crazy real quick on my computer. Hello, welcome to Anime Club. This is a monthly get-together with me and some patrons where we all talk about an anime that was selected by you, the viewers, over the course of last month. Last month we selected No Game, No Life. Thank you so much for making me watch this again. God. You know when we talked about Eromanga Sensei a few months ago and all of us were unanimously like, you know, this is horrible, but it's not as bad as I remember. No Game, No Life was
Well,
the
I-
opposite of that.
I had never
Yeah.
seen Manga Sensei, so it was just as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
But
no, I came into No Game, No Life like, all right, I watched this in like 2016, 2017. I remember it being fun. Like, yeah, it was trashy. It was campy. But I remember the visuals being good. I remember it having those nice Death Note vibes where we've got the
Very colorful.
very colorful.
I like
we got
the
the main
panties.
character who's this big, like, smarter than everyone kind of guy, outsmarting everyone, and that's fun to watch. Whatever, it's cathartic. And then I get into it and like, this is the worst shit I've ever seen.
Really?
No,
Dude,
not really. I'm exaggerating.
I scored this a 7 back when it came out.
Same.
I think I watched it in 2015, but like I watched it again. I was like, "Yep, this is still a 7. This is just as good as I remember it, but also like it's not that good, you know? Like it's just it is what it is.
5.
It's a fine show."
It's a
Yeah.
5 unless you
Yeah.
want to give it a point for being pretty.
Mm.
And then subtract
like-
the point for sexualizing prepubescent children.
That was thrown into the 5.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's thrown in
Yeah,
the
it's like,
5.
okay.
Very generous.
So I was literally looking for. I realized. I feel like I can confidently say that at this point I have a reputation for rating things higher than anyone else in the the
Sure.
club.
Yeah.
True.
And like
True.
I realized the reason, partially like the reason for this is that like I was subconsciously doing a thing that apparently somebody else does, where like he said like I usually go into a thing with like the little ticker in my brain going it's already a 6 out of 10 because it's like someone cared to make this, it's probably someone's favorite thing, so like I want to go in there and I want to say this is a 6 out of 10 at least, and then like the ticker kind of moves based on stuff, and like the something has to be actively bad for me to rate it like below a 6 out of 10, which like kind of makes it like my rating scale becomes this weird interesting thing. For instance, I think the lowest rated thing that I have ever like sort of finished is this specific run of the Moon Knight comics that I rated a 3 out of 10 because it was like obnoxious and awful.
Oh no.
So what have you rated No Game No Life?
I have rated it a okay, my brain ticker kept going back and forth between a 5 and a 6 for ages and ages, and I think the thing that keeps it at a 6 is Tet specifically.
Tet's fun. See,
That's
Pseudo
that's
says
an
that I'm on
awfully
the other
specific.
end being merciless here. Like, I feel like Pseudo's implying that I start out thinking everything is a 0 and it has to earn my points. Like, no, everything starts at a 5. Like, obviously, I'm just as susceptible to, like, public opinion as everything else. I go into Evangelion, I'm like, okay, maybe this starts at a 6. I go into Arrow Manga Sensei, I'm like, okay, maybe this starts at a 4. But for me, everything is, like, in that 4 to 6 range when I go into it.
Yeah.
No Game, No Life
Yeah.
had some things that brought it up to a 6, had some things that brought it down to a 4 or a 3, so I'm like, okay, you stay at a 5.
Yeah, I like because I had already thought the show was. I mean, I didn't look at my score until after I had finished it, but because I had already gone into it like being like, oh yeah, no, I do remember liking it, but like just because I've gotten older, I mean, oh my god, the show was 15 when it came out. I was 15 when this fucking show came out, but like now 10 years later, you're like, okay, well, my sensibilities have obviously changed. I've grown as a person. My likes and dislikes in shows have changed, but also I've become way more analytical, and I can see the value and good in a lot more things that probably people don't see. You know, so like, I while I found myself being like, oh yeah, this is probably trashier than I remember it being. It also did things that I thought were smarter than I remember it being at the time.
I'm very interested to hear that because I had the opposite experience.
Really?
While I was watching it, I remembered it having this like smart angle to it. And now as I was going through it again, all of that seemed like a veneer to me.
Okay, all right. When I say smart, I should preface.
Yeah.
When I say smart, I don't mean like the characters themselves are smarter. This game, you compared it to like Death Note-esque. Like I never thought it was that. I always thought it was really over the top and goofy and corny and campy. But I think emotionally and character-wise, they did a lot of smart stuff with it. At least more than I initially thought.
No, I understand what you're saying. I just felt like it did less than I initially thought it did.
Oh, okay.
So. Which isn't to say it didn't do anything cool. There are a couple of things that I thought were really neat about it.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the OP first? The OP and ED?
Yeah, one of the most rockin' OPs of all time.
They bang so hard.
They really do.
Which is a shame because I think the actual OP, like including the visuals, is not all that good.
Yeah, the visuals are very like basic as far as like an opening's visuals can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do like. There's one transition where it's like Steph is it's like standing in the rain, and then everything like freezes, and you see all the raindrops, and it turns, and the camera like turns out into whatever the next scene is. I thought like that's like the
Oh
coolest
yeah.
transition that they do in the OP, but like that's not
True.
that much.
Well,
I like
Yeah.
the scene where they're all flying over the land, and they're
Yeah.
introducing all the different characters. That's a very good way of doing the
Yeah.
character
when
introductions.
they're all flying over the land and they're introducing all the characters by showing us their underwear.
Only for some
Yeah.
of them, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, only for the hot ones. We only get to see the hot 13-year-old upskirts here.
You don't get to see the panties of the elf, so I don't think I can agree with that.
2 out of 10. You're right.
Throw it in the trash.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't actually know if like this is a thing that was exclusive to the very legal way that I watched it. Definitely so totally legal. But I'm pretty sure that in the dub version like it's like actively like is the like official dub, does it also have like the opening in English officially, or was that a thing exclusively on the place where I watched it? Am
What
I
do you
crazy?
Wait, so the
Literally
opening
no
song is in
idea.
English? Is that what you're saying?
It's like, okay, so I recall like every episode the opening was in English. It was definitely I recognize Amelie's voice. It was Amelie's like English cover of the opening. And I like, because I know she is a voice actress and I know that she has like connections to people in the industry, and I've seen her on High School Host Club and they have every other episode have the opening be in English. I thought maybe this is part of the official release, but I do not actually know.
I have
I
no
don't
idea
think
what
it
you're
is.
talking about when it comes to No
Okay.
Game No Life or Oron, because the official Oron dub's opening is always in English.
Oh, always?
Every time.
I can swear it was like every other episode they switched it out. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
crazy.
No,
Anyway, go ahead.
I watched
finish.
it on Hulu, so legally for once, and the opening was always in Japanese, alternating between Romanji and English subtitles.
Okay, cool.
So I don't know what happened with you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think you just got Amelie. I think you just somebody just snuck in their propaganda in there.
That
There
makes
is something-
sense, yeah.
I didn't experience anything like that. I just watched the show sub normally, but like usually after the end of every opening and ending sequence, there would be like a small shot, maybe like a second long, that they would play on the repeat for a bit with either the opening or ED playing. Like, did anyone else have that? To see that?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Maybe it is an edit then.
Yeah,
I was watching with a friend. We weren't quite sure what to think of it.
Yeah, this is
Well,
why I
that
kind of
mystery was solved.
at least when it's available to me. At least when it's available to me, I always try to watch it legally because I mean, you never know what you can get. Sometimes it'll just be weird shit going on with
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah, especially even like translations, illegal translations, like doing fan translations. Like you never know. So I try my best, at least when it's available, to do. Unless I don't have that streaming service, then all bets are off. Like I don't.
The only time I ever go out of my way to watch unofficial content is for weird anime videos. I want the strangest experience possible, please.
Did all three of you watch dubbed?
Mm-hmm.
No. I watched the
You
sub.
watched
I never
some.
watched the dub. I never.
Really?
I
Yeah.
practically always watch the dub.
All right, get
Yeah,
ready, Tom.
That's how I feel like I
Shente,
balance
motherfucker.
everything out. You said what?
A shente.
Oh yeah, Ashente. Yeah, I'm right there.
That was very fun. I like that they had a specific word, like an activation phrase.
I love that. That's so good. Just brings us back to Saturday morning card game based anime.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
the OP. We all agree that this song is one of the best of all time. Just those damn piano riffs, man. They've been stuck
Yeah.
in
I
my
mean,
head
it's
I
for
a
like.
cool
10
J-pop
years,
song,
and they
not
just...
more than that.
What?
I think it's a cool J-pop song, not really much more than that. It's all right.
Well,
I went out of my
goodbye.
way to like find like the full version. The full version like really like it fully like starts out it's just a piano ballad like for like a solid 20 seconds. And then it like just kind of drops you into like the full thing with the electric guitars and shit and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah. Yeah, the full song is intense. I like it.
Mhm.
I remember when it came out, everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is like OP of the decade."
Mhm.
I did not think that, but I still very much like the song. It's really good.
Yeah, no, OP wise, it's nothing special. Song wise, it's very good.
Yeah, yeah, the song is what makes it.
It's why do these shows always get the best songs? Why does Domestic Girlfriend have the hardest OP of all time?
I wish I knew.
Because that show is fire.
You're
And it
not
Why do I
deserves
wrong.
still
Like,
keep
I guess that is fair that Domestic Girlfriend is not a bad show.
You know what is a bad show, Aramaga Sensei, but it has such a pretty little opening and I hate it.
Scrub, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
that's true.
I think maybe you're sounding quiet again. That's
Don't
what I'm
ask
going
me.
Sounds
to
fine in
interpret.
Discord. There must be some YouTube thing then, I guess.
Anyway. Other than that, yeah,
Um,
not much more to say about the OP.
I liked the ED. I thought it was very cute. Like I liked having the little reminder at the end of each episode of like it's like for lack of a better like there was something about the fact that every ED oh my god. Oh right. And at the end of episode 8 when the ED changed, I was freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, got all doki doki with it.
Yes.
I honestly
It was
don't know what
great.
you're talking about.
I'll probably mention it more when episode 8 comes up, but it's just like I
Sure.
thought like the nice gentle like the gentle vocals on the ED like throughout is very nice and I liked the watercolor illustration looking stuff like at the in the ED. I thought I have a weakness for watercolors. I can't really explain the aesthetic elements that make me like the ED more than the OP, but I just know I do.
I think it's just aesthetic. Like it's just very like a very poignant like juxtaposition between the normal like very poppy, bright, like all over the place exaggerated colors of the show itself to like this very muted, soft tone,
Desaturated blue.
desaturated, yeah, like this very somber ED.
Mhm.
But it still really works, I think.
Which is
I
something
think
we should probably talk about while we're in this general discussion phase. Is the visuals of this show are so
Oh, yeah,
unique and
man.
fun.
Dude,
I-
Madhouse was at the top of their game, dude.
Mhm.
Holy shit.
I mean, I can see why you think that because they definitely stand out a lot. But honestly, while I was watching it, I just kind of thought like, yeah, I guess this is a unique visual style.
Mhm.
It's kind of gimmicky. Like I don't think it really made. Like I don't know, does it relate in any specific way to what the show is presenting in its narrative or world?
I think it would be
Just
nice
feel
if
like
it
it's
did.
pointless.
I think it's like the idea is that like this world is like more colorful than reality. It's like this idea that like it is so hyper real. Like it's like a heightened hyper reality that they have been dropped into. And it very much feels like a toy box. Like it feels like a primary colors toy box kind of area. Well, not primary, but like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
extra
Maybe,
saturated colors.
I think maybe my issue is it feels like the world is just very bright. It's kind of leans on some of the neon colors, if that makes sense. Maybe
That's what I love about it. It's neon. It's bright.
I think
colors go
I think you also have to take into account when this show came out. Like we didn't back in 2014, we did not have all of these light novel adaptations that we do now, right? And even now, like this show still looks way more creatively unique than basically any show that's coming out or any show that's come out in the past 5 years that's like a light novel adaptation. Like they just don't make them like this anymore. They kind of never did. This is kind of an outlier.
I mean, I guess I appreciate the show doing something, not just going with the absolutely bland direction you're talking about in most light novel adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No,
I just wish it was something that looked good to me.
well, just keep in mind that it doesn't have this kind of aesthetic for the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because the first few scenes of Sora and Shiro just in their apartment in Tokyo are not brightly colored. They're super
It's very
dark and
moody.
desaturated. And blue. So when
And
everything
blue.
has these vibrant violet, purple, magenta outlines, and all the colors get bopped up to 10, just slide that contrast meter up in Photoshop.
Yeah, I think this show does have a very, and like episode 1 is a great case of it. This show works with shadows really well. Like the contrast between really bright and poppy lights and shadowed, just shadows in general. And Sora and Shiro being in their room and closed off all by these monitors. And then when you come into the whenever Tet like takes them and the box that they're in opens up, literally the box, it just expands and they're falling from the sky and it opens up into this huge neon bright world. Is just like it's just a really good juxtaposition of where they were at mentally and like in their lives as opposed now to Disboard.
No, it's a visual treat. It's optimism that you can see.
Yeah.
Big fan, personally. I don't think it's a particularly complicated expression of theme as a visual style, but that's a good thing.
No, Rubik's Man in the chat says you could easily argue that the bright colors are from the main character's view of the world, which is valid because in episode 9 or whatever, Shiro's like everything becomes gray when Sora's not around. And it's obviously trying to communicate that. So that, yeah, I think that's a valid take too.
Sure. We talked about the visuals, we talked about the music. I think everything else can be wrapped into episode discussion. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, then let's go on to episode number 1. In this fantasy world, everything's a game, and these gamer siblings play to win. What a title.
That's the whole title?
Hold on.
Isn't
That's
it just
the
called
light novel
Beginner?
title.
Oh, okay.
Episode 1 is
Yeah.
called Beginner.
Oh, that's cute. Game start!
Step-siblings Sora and Shiro are known as Blank, an undefeated online gaming group. In reality, they are both agoraphobic hikikomori. After 5 consecutive days, they are challenged to a game of chess by an anonymous player. When Sora and Shiro are victorious, they are offered to be sent to a world run by games. Once they accept, they are suddenly summoned to an alternate world called Disboard by the anonymous player, now recognized as the goddess play named Tet, who departs after explaining that Disboard is governed by a set of rules called the Ten Covenants. After humiliating these bandits, Sora and Shiro travel to a hotel at Elkia, a nation inhabited by humans, where Stephanie Dola and Clammy Zell are seen playing a game of poker to determine the next ruler. Sora is challenged to a game of poker against a woman named Lady Attitude for her sack of golden coins. Sora wins with a royal straight flush after Lady plays a full house. Soon after, Sora secretly informs Stephanie that Clammy is cheating. While planning to stay at the inn for 4 nights, Sora and Shiro look forward to their new life in Disboard.
Her English name is Clammy?
It's spelled Chlammy.
Okay. Because in the sub it was Kurami. Yeah.
I'm sure that's what they say.
I always heard
in the
Kurami.
Okay. All right. They say that in the all right.
I'm sure. I don't remember. But no, in this recap, they say Clammy, and that's what I'm gonna keep saying.
Yeah, alright. Okay, Clammy.
I say I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm never gonna mention this character again.
What?
No, probably
She's
not.
used multiple times.
But the Yuri romance.
Nah.
Okay.
Boba Bombastish mentions Lady Attitude, and yeah, we support that here.
I love that. She was never
She actually has
properly
a name.
named. I
Lady
don't think.
Attitude.
It says right here.
Oh,
Is that what
true.
is that what Sora calls her?
A woman named Lady Attitude.
Just okay, that's just her name.
I mean, do
Alright.
any of us actually remember her being name called?
I don't
doesn't
think they
seem-
said her name at all. And she's just some random NPC, right? So who cares?
Basically, yes.
She exists to lose
Was
at
probably
a game of
named in
poker.
the light novel, and it's never mentioned in the adaptation.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Sora and Shiro, what do we think?
I
Um,
think that they are really cool as their character concepts next to each other are really fucking cool. And I like how this comes up in episode 2, but I like how completely overly dependent they are upon one
Mhm.
another. I think it is funny.
I think they suck. They're
Well, let's keep it PG-13.
I think they suck.
I don't know how to explain it. It's just something about, and I'm not sure if it's anything in like episode 1 specifically that I could point to. Like in episode 1, we don't really get any more of like an impression of them other than they're hardcore hikikomori, they're really good gamers, and they don't like real life because real life is kusoge.
hmm
But I don't know then if I should leave like the rest of my ranting about why I hate them for the later episodes. If I just had to say one thing, I think it's just that they're maybe too far up their own ass. At least Sora, Shiro
What? No.
doesn't have that much presence.
They have each other. They don't have to be up their own asses.
They can be up each other's asses, yeah. True.
I will say that if I had $1 for every time on Anime Club we have covered a show where the main character was voiced by Yoshitsugu Matsuoka, who the character had a younger little sister with silver grayish hair who they may or may not have this weirdly sexual tension relationship, I'd have $2, which is not a lot. But
But it's absurd.
it's crazy. Crazy
Weird
that's
that it
happened twice.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I really like Sora and Shiro as their dynamic and as characters. I think like the whole fact that they cover for each other's weaknesses and deficiencies is a really neat premise for them being the king of games or whatever now. And you see it immediately because they start this game with Tet and they're like, oh well, if Sora or Shira's memorized every option on the board, so against computers she can literally never lose. And Sora clearly points out like, no, this guy is trying to bait you. This is a human, so like we need to think about like baiting him back. We need to actually work together. And so they, them becoming one player is the cool thing. So I just like that as the introduction for how the rest of the show goes, and how they expand on those ideas.
I wish that were more impactful. Because
I wish
my biggest problem with this show in general is that the games themselves don't matter to the audience. The way the games are solved isn't something that the audience could have figured out or participated in. So the ways that Sora and Shiro interact with each other are arbitrary. Like they're whatever the author says they should be.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I roughly get that. I think that's kind of my problem, that it doesn't feel like the way they beat the games is as strategic as the show wants me to believe it is.
I think that's part of the reason why that is because it's really hard to explain a game in writing because this is a light novel, right? How this initially how this was, this is the adaptation, right? So the author himself can only tell you so much about the game itself that's not going to be super fucking boring and weird. So like I don't know. Like that's just my 2 cents about the whole game thing. But like
I don't.
yeah, the author clearly is just like, yeah, you don't. They are smart. They are hashtag smart because you don't know what's going on.
Yes, exactly. But let's think about the games that get played in No Game No Life. We have a chess sim, which we're just told Shiro has memorized and can win, and the reason that's not going to work is because human psychology, and so all strategy is out the table to begin with.
Yes.
Then we have poker, which is more or less a game of chance. We have a coin toss, I remember. The only one
That's damn.
the only one that requires explaining, really, that I can remember.
Yeah.
Sorry, the chess game with Clammy.
Oh yeah.
The chess game with Clammy is not a game. That's yelling at rocks.
That one. Oh, I forgot about it. Yeah.
The chess game with Clammy. And then we have the video game. The video game is the only time, because it's just shooting each other. The video game is the only time where the audience has perfect information on the rules of the game and the capabilities of the characters. Except we don't, but we think we do. That is a situation where we could have created a fight scene. There are so many anime that have gun battles that involve strategy, outthinking the opponent. Like, for fuck's sake, watch Sword Art Online Alternative. Even they do it better than this. But you're in the middle of a gunfight, which is well-trodden territory for anime for showing tactics and outthinking each other. And what they do is, oh, I just shot at Steph, who happened to have been down there, and then she killed you. Loser. Like, they pull the solution out of their ass, even when they could have shown us every step of the process. It's because the author doesn't want to show us every step of the process to prove that Sora is smart. The author wants Sora to be the smartest guy ever by pulling the rug out from under us.
Well, I will say, in its defense, right? Because that's all you just said was totally valid. I will say, in its defense, I know that there was things that were cut out of the adaptation that were in the light novels. So I wonder if part of the battle scene and part of the explanation might have been some of them. I don't know. I mean, I doubt it, because it all pretty plays out like that. Like it just plays out like how it would for any other game, essentially. Except it's shown to you a lot more because it takes up, like, I guess, it's between 2 episodes, right? So like, I understand, but I totally understand what you're saying.
I don't buy any argument that we are supposed to actually believe that Sora is a strategic mastermind when the show just shows us that he's capable of flipping a coin on demand so that it lands on its side. I don't buy that.
And he only does that because he has access to a brick that slides.
But like yes, true, that's why that happens. But I think outside of the game, they do show a lot more. I mean, I'm not going to say a lot more strategy, but they do clearly show that he is a smart guy and knows how to manipulate people into doing what he wants, which I think is part of his, I don't want to say charm as a character, but it's...
No, I get you.
It's part of his core as a character.
Yeah, it's what I enjoyed watching him for when I watched him the first time. That's what you're supposed to like this show for.
Yeah.
Just
because
the way
he's really good at manipulating people.
The Death Note stuff.
It's like... It would be fun if, like, the main characters were just, like, openly bitches to everyone, which, like, they kind of are, but also they're, like, Shiro is not a strong enough force of personality to be openly a bitch at people, and, Sora is, like, very covertly a bitch at people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And so, like, because of this, you get this you get this thing where it's like we are supposed to like the characters for them just completely owning everyone and winning at both social life and games, because games are partially the basis of social life in this place. And like the thing, like it's like they get it's like the idea that like they get so much social clout and they get so much respect from how good they are at games. And also Sora just happens to generally be very good at social things. It's just that he was functionally disallowed from participating earnestly in social situations because everyone on Earth was like, dude, just shut the fuck up and stay in your lane. And he's like, I will not. At least I that's what I inferred happened.
Explained? Yeah, the show doesn't really go as much into it as I had hoped. Like we only really
it's
get
like
the backstory for Shiro. And
we learn later that apparently as a kid, as a 7-year-old, he was incredibly fake, and Shiro clocked this, and she was like, "You're real empty, kid," or something. That's not at all the tone of it, but and it's like I just think it would have been interesting to see like the full contrast of these traits. But what I mean is that like they can't be openly bitches because that's not like what their characters are. But also, whenever they are being like openly, like either openly bitches or openly little goobers who are just like let's do the cool anime pose thing, where like they switch the animation style into like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for a hot second. Just because it was like that's the most fun I had with these characters, is them being goobers or them being bitches.
Yeah.
Tino does mention the rock, paper, scissors game against Steph. And
that's in the second episode.
It is in the second episode, but I will say that was pretty well done.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I wish we could have seen more of on a more complicated level. And we don't.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the Shiratori game is also like maybe it's not perfect. We can get to that, but I think it's what the rest of the fights could have been like.
Shiratori game. I didn't like it at all.
I
think watching that dubbed that's something.
Oh yeah, that probably doesn't make any sense.
It does. They do their best.
Oh okay. They do the best with what they can. But to James's point about them being bitches, one of the reasons why, and like Sora being like fake and stuff like that, like one of the reasons why I think, at least that I read into that, why they were, I mean, at least Sora, Shiro is, a computer, so like she by definition is going to be like viewed at differently, right? She had her backstory where like she was an orphan and everybody treated her differently, and they had her do all these mind games and blah 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 blah, and like she was different. Sora, on the other hand, is just really good at reading people and manipulating them, but sometimes he doesn't understand when he's overstepping clearly, like and because in Discord he can get away with that. Right? In Discord, he can get away with overstepping. I think you see it in episode 7 when he's talking about Stephanie's grandfather and just being like, yeah, he was an idiot, he was a fool, and he was insane, like fuck that guy. And she gets really mad, and he's seen as the villain in that scenario. Even Shiro is like, I think you went a little too far with that. And I think that's probably how most of his life went, where he saw things as like stupid or illogical or asinine and was like, hey, I'm smarter and above all of this because I'm a cool, smart guy, and I'm going to look down on you because of that. And people were like, well, fuck this guy, I don't want to be around him. And that caused him to shut himself away. And clearly trying to people please, like he tried to do with his parents, like that wasn't working either, because Shiro calls him out on it, So I think Sora is just kind of an asshole, at like not fully, but like he leans towards being an asshole more often than not, because and only in Discord can he get away with it, and that's why this world works for him.
Wait, you're saying he can get away with it on Discord because he's like objectively better than everyone because all the conflicts here are settled by gaming?
Because all the conflicts are settled by, I mean, look, if he was in the normal world and he said some like random off the cuff shit, somebody would just punch him in the face. Somebody would just knock him on his ass. So like he can't get away with it. In Discord, he can.
Does boxing count as a game?
Does boxing count as a game?
It counts as a sport. I mean, you know.
We are going to play a game. It is called Thermonuclear War.
Tic-tac-toe, something, war games, I think is that movie from the 80s or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Hey, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Am I right?
Dodge a wrench. Yeah, we're gonna play a game. It's called Dodge Wrench.
Yeah, it's called dodge wrench.
The logistics of this world would be so much fun to like push to their limits. Because remember, no, the 10th pledge is let's all have fun. Let's all have fun. Does the loser have fun in boxing? Does the loser have fun in thermonuclear war?
I wonder.
Well, that violates the first covenant.
I wonder if there actually is any stuff like that in like later on in the series.
Yeah,
it would be interesting.
It does violate the first covenant, the first rule, which is just to not inflict violence or kill anyone. Oh wait, but I guess it does complicate it because if violence is allowed, non-lethal
violence is part of the game.
Yeah.
The violence is part of the game.
Gonna play a game. It's called Punch.
But I mean, that's the thing, right? Like people can just not agree to play the game that they get challenged to.
Well, the challenger picks the game.
It's like you challenge someone and you are essentially putting the rules of the game in their hands, which is like part of the whole like balancing of that rule that Tet put forward. The balance is if you want something that someone has and you say, I challenge you for that thing, then the other person says, okay, here's the rules of the game. Do you agree to it? And you have to go, okay, yeah, sure, I wager this, or like you have this thing I want, I'll wager this thing that I already have, or whatever. You know, it's like, and they're like, okay, here's the rules. You still want to play me? And you go, yeah, sure, I think I can beat you at that. And it's like this idea of like mutually agreeing upon the rules. And if you cheat, the game is over, and whoever cheated lost. However, you have to discover if they cheated, which seems weird to me.
Well, there's no way to ensure it, but I don't think that's the issue. My issue, just what I didn't really get throughout the whole show is there an option to just say, no, I do not want to play a game with you, and end it there?
I don't think so. I think if you're challenged, you have to propose a game. And I think if you don't want to play a game, you propose a ridiculous game that you will obviously win.
But
that sounds about right. Like, what was it? Lady Attitude? Yeah. They challenged Lady Attitude, and Lady Attitude was like, let's play poker then, bitches. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe you can say no, but because the show is also about goading people into playing games that they think they're going to win, like that's part of like the premise and appeal, to be like, hey, you think I'm lowly because I'm a human, so why don't I spice things up a little bit? Why don't I wager my entire race piece into a game that you clearly only you know about, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I think you can say no, because I think Sora implies that whatever the ambassador guy for the War Beasts, he could say no to his thing, but then that would make Sora right. About
yeah,
I remember that.
I don't remember the specific details about the thing, but yeah.
But no, I mean, my bigger issue is, okay, so both parties need to agree on the stakes. They need to say, okay, we have things of equal worth. Otherwise, they can't go ahead and do it. But what if they just never come to an agreement? How could the game happen?
The game just doesn't happen then.
Yeah, it just wouldn't happen.
Exactly. So that does seem like a loophole. Like, you can basically say no and not engage in a game if you don't want to.
I mean, yeah, that's how all socialization works. You can walk away from the other person.
I think forcing someone to play a game when they don't want to counts as war. I think that's war.
Oh, you got a good point there. It's not fun.
That's fair. Um, yeah, I mean, because they all talk about like later in the series, they talk about like invading and like we won't be safe. But it's like, can you not just decline the game? Well, you could theoretically, I guess, but like maybe in some scenario you can't. Like I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
really unclear.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make it seem like you can. Sometimes they make it seem like you can't. So I don't know. I give them the benefit of the doubt and say you can't, or rather you can decline. But I see why there's a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before we move to episode 2, I want to briefly touch on the fact that like I love like the puck energy coming off of Tet.
Yeah.
And like I really love I said this in my notes. I really love how like at least emotionally to me, it feels like what Tet did was he looked out at the multiverse and he saw, hey, these kids are kind of like me in the sense that like Tet refused to engage with the world when like there was a war happening, and like by refusing to engage with like the eternal blood war that killed all the other gods, Ted essentially just like war of attrition, so to speak, himself into just being the only god. And he was like, okay, that's it, you're all playing Nices, so help me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
You're
like
gonna be chess pieces for the rest of your life now.
and
Yeah.
it's like it's this idea that like Tet wanted the world to be niceys and to be fun. Tet is such a different character from the main characters. He's so much, and I love that about him. And it's like,
Go ahead.
and like I like that like the world kind of reflects him and he reflects the world. It's an interesting like thing where like he has those fucking the spades and the hearts in his eyes and the little like he's so maximalist in his character design. And it's like he finds these two and he's like, hey, you two, you seem to be doing the thing that I was doing earlier. Like he doesn't explicitly say this, but like watching the first episode, you can get the sense very easily that like he kind of shut himself away, and then he came out and he was like, okay, actually, I have the power to fuck shit up and just say no. And like it's this idea that like he wants to hand that power to these kids. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I was gonna say is that Tet isn't all that different from Sora and Shiro philosophically, anyway, because the way Sora and Shiro go about winning games is this whole ideology of how the weak beat the strong, and it's by turning them against each other and not engaging until you have an advantage. Which is exactly what Tet did to become god of the world.
Interesting.
Speaking of,
Right.
what?
When do we see Sora and Shiro turning the strong against each other?
You don't all that much, but we hear them say that that's what they're gonna do.
Saying, not showing.
Yep.
Just like the show.
Yeah. Anyway, Tom, you were gonna say something?
I mean, to follow up on the point, that's where I think the end of season 1 was kind of leading to, where it was like, you know, they're trying to force the war beasts into joining them because they've turned the angels and the elves onto them, because now they have information about them. So that's kind of what that was leading to, the whole turning the strong against each other type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even remember the question I was going to ask earlier, so forget what I was. Just keep going.
Oops.
Mm-hmm. All right. They're so god-brained they just outsmart everyone else. Very fun. All right.
I just had a thought a couple of minutes ago. I hope it's gonna be stupid. So is that actually an NCAP? I mean, rule 1 is just the non-aggression pact, right? And then all the other exchanges have to be agreed upon by consenting parties.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I
don't think I have anything
I think
else.
philosophically, this is one of those shows that's just not going to hold up to too much scrutiny. You're not going to be able to push it too hard, or it's going to fall apart. Like,
No deep political analysis of No Game, No Life.
I don't think so. And also, I think that's part of the point. Like, one of the biggest things about No Game, No Life is that it's saying the world we have sucks, it's unfair, it's poorly balanced. So let's have this completely different world with completely different rules and see how that turns out. And you can argue that that's inherently political, but I don't think you can say it's political in a way that would inherently make sense in this world.
Yeah.
Well, in our world?
Yes,
what do you
in our
mean?
world.
What do you mean wouldn't make sense in our world?
It's a different world with different rules.
It's a different world completely.
Yeah. But you could imagine this becoming the case in our world, right?
Could you?
No, like, because we don't have, like, a cosmic being who enforces these rules.
Yeah, like, you can argue, I guess you can apply, like, would it be a good thing to have a god? Or, like, if you have some, like, authoritarian leader who can enact their will over reality itself, how would that turn out, man?
Imagine if we had a guy, or if we had a god, and he was just a little guy running around, and every so often he popped up, and they were like, "Hey, was that God? Was it him?" And the two newly appointed kings were like, "Yeah, we were talking to him." Like, wouldn't that be awesome?
What are you talking about? The king talks to God all the time.
Yeah,
that's why he's the king.
Yeah. Of course.
Episode 2?
Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Episode 2 is called Challenger. Having just lost against Clammy in their game of poker, Stephanie confronts Sora for not revealing how Clammy cheated. Sora ropes Stephanie into a game of rock, paper, scissors. Stephanie begins to overthink when Sora claims that he will only play paper, leading her to play scissors, yet he wins easily by playing rock instead. Sora uses the 10 pledges in order to make Stephanie fall in love with him, though Shiro makes the situation awkward. Sora and Shiro then move into the kingdom of Elkia with Stephanie, who later explains that Humanity represents the human race within Disboard. Humanity is the 16th ranked sentient race of the Exceed because they have no affinity to magic whatsoever. Stephanie desires to prove that her deceased grandfather, Makoto Dola, the former king of Elkia, was not a foolish king. Sora uses the 10 pledges in order to convince Clammy to wear Stephanie's heirloom dress in preparation for her coronation. Afterwards, Sora and Shiro set off to help Stephanie prove that Makoto was not a foolish king. Do the Japanese play rock, paper, scissors differently?
No, I think everything is the same. What are you confused about?
I swear they said that if Sora played rock against Stephanie's paper, he would win. Many times they said that.
Okay. He never... I think the whole point was that he never made it part of the rules. Or maybe it was just, oh, he was actually cheating.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
No, I don't think there's any cheating involved.
There's no cheating
I think
involved.
he believes he's
I mean, look,
I'm saying by the fact that he threw a different thing, that's him cheating.
No, that's not cheating. The way it works is he said, I will only be able to win if I play paper. That is a binding rule of the game. He cannot win if he plays rock or scissors. He can tie.
Yes.
And he does tie. And there were separate stipulations for a tie.
Okay, all right. Then maybe it's the dub and the sub are different, because in the sub he says, if I throw anything except for paper, I lose. Or no, he doesn't even say that. He just says, I won't throw anything except for paper. That's what he says.
Yeah, that's just a mind game.
So, like, I'm not sure if he actually made it part of the rules or not. He just says, hey, I'm going to throw this.
But
very odd.
The way Stephanie, in her head, maps out the game only includes wins for Steph. Everything else is a tie.
Yeah, so
That's
only
the
one
way the game is explained to the viewer.
No, because she explains it by the graph. She says, if I do this, if I do whatever, I have this many. There's only two scenarios where he wins. If he's throwing
there's only one scenario where he wins. If he throws paper and she throws rock.
Yeah. The other ones are like we all tie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. but so that's just him. That's just him goading. But I don't. You know, I don't think. I think that's just normally how rock paper scissors works, isn't it?
No, because normally people aren't bound by the rules of the game to only be able
Oh,
to win
well,
if they throw paper.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean, just look at the image. I posted it on Discord.
Yeah,
That's the whole graph.
there would be 3 ways for Sora to win if he were legally allowed to throw anything he wanted. And there are not.
Yes. Yeah, that's but okay,
Steph
so
never
then that's
considers that the I will only throw paper thing is a mind game.
yeah.
Which you can argue that Steph is an idiot, but she's not that much of an idiot. So
No, I don't.
He's
I don't
trying
think she is,
so hard.
but he's clearly just manipulating her.
yes, but
Well, yeah, obviously.
the way the
That's
game
the point.
works is Sora is allowed to throw anything he wants, but he can
Yes.
only win if he throws paper. And the game does end in a tie, even though he would have won. It's rock versus scissors, right?
Yeah.
I
and yet the
think so.
game is a tie.
No,
So
no,
yeah,
he wins.
No, they both
Isn't
get,
they tie.
they tie
Is
because
that
each
what-
of them gets something from the other.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. No, I'm understanding you now.
Mm-hmm.
She gets him to tell her how Clytemnestra cheated, and
And he gets her to fall in love
and
with him.
then he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, he said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. And also, that wouldn't work. Wait, hold on. How far do the pledges stretch? Is my thing. It's like, I
Pledge
still
10,
do this.
baby. Let's all have
Pledge
fun
10,
together.
maybe? Oh my gosh. And it's like,
I'm just confused. Go ahead, finish.
I'm still confused as to like how far into people's brains the pledges stretch. You know what I mean? Like, can you force someone to have an emotional reaction to a thing, or can you only say like the part of the wager is that you do a thing? Like, is it an action or is it like a physical condition? Like, can you say to someone, if you lose this game, you will turn into a dog?
Probably.
I mean,
That's the impression
that's
I
kind of
get.
what they do in one of the later episodes, right? When Steph loses a lot and she has to like pretend to be a dog.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Something-
like, as in literally physically. You get what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's why.
Really warps
Yeah, I
reality,
understand.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, she does actually fall in love with him to some extent, even though I think it's very confusing. In how they showed that, I wasn't entirely sure if it happened.
It is funny though.
The
Yeah,
way I interpreted it is that she's like so suggestible that it just kind of happened. Because like I'm deeply suggestible, that probably would happen to me.
What? That's nuts.
Not literally completely, but like something like that could happen to me.
So, to be fair to all of this, I did think that Steph's whiplash reactions from brainwashed love of Sora to what the fuck is wrong with me, bash bash head against the wall,
Yeah.
were very funny.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I'm still confused about the stakes in the case of a tie. Like, what did Steph actually get out of them tying?
The
The-
information about how Clammy cheated in the game.
Right. And then Sora also won by making, and so because the tie, what Sora got was Steph falling in love with him.
Yeah, Sora got a little favor, quote.
Yeah.
Which is also, I guess, important foreshadowing for what happens at the end of the series. When he plays the
The
game against
favor?
the Fox Spirit and ties on purpose.
yeah, the
so
tie.
they both win.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
That's
a
interesting.
good callback.
Wait, what do you mean? But they do, like, the Blank does win in the last game,
No, they
the
don't.
video game.
No,
Not in the
The
coin
last-
last
one.
not in the
game is
coin toss.
coin toss.
Hmm. Oh, that
Yeah.
the coin toss.
Where they both tie. Which
Hmm.
when I remember when I watched that scene initially, like however many years ago, I thought that was like the most fun aspect of the entire show. That like Sora really is like he's an asshole, but he's not maniacal. Like he's not like, man, I'm that far above you that I'm gonna take everything from you. Like he is still just like a normal guy relatively.
He's like, listen, I do not enjoy subjugating people. I
Yeah.
just think it's fun when I win games.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm gonna become God for it. Okay. I'm gonna get a little bit of coffee. I will be right back.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I think I will also get coffee.
Okay.
Are you gonna stay with me, Tom?
It's just me and you, Tenek. It's us against the world. And chat. Chat's also here. Hi, chat.
Hi, chat. Is chat real?
I wonder if you can compete against someone for their lifespan and become some sort of game lich. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Probably. I mean, they already do so much reality bending shit with the game when Sora goes missing. I forgot what it's called.
It's Othello.
Othello, yeah, that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the Othello game was only the like it was the least focused on game only because it was happening in like a separate dimension, and like I don't know the fucking rules of Othello. So like when
Me neither.
Shiro comes in and she's like, well, if I just do this, this, and this, then I win, and then she just wins. It's like, all right, cool, whatever. I don't care. I'm way more emotionally invested in the ramifications of her believing in Sora rather than anything, you know, than the game itself. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point, I guess. They don't really shed any attention on who was winning and how. Rather, I guess how they reached a stalemate, because that's what happens in the game, I think. And then Shiro needs to
Sora just wins, right? Because that's why he comes back.
But no, I mean, like they were like in some kind of suspended state until Shiro plays the pieces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I see. That's my thing. Like that's kind of my how I approached or I approached most of the games in general. Like that's a good like case in point of it, is because like most of the games were like whatever. I didn't really care. It's more about the emotionally gripping aspects of what's going on because of the games rather than the games themselves. I didn't really care about the games.
Yeah.
Hi, if my microphone sounds different, it's because I finally got the motivation to sit up and use my laptop instead of my phone.
Incredible. I'm not sure if it actually sounds worse. I have a feeling like it does, but it's fine enough.
Yeah, I think it's like a shitty little. It's either the microphone that is connected to my laptop or the microphone that's connected to my headphones, and both of them are shitty.
Yeah, I don't think you sound that much worse.
Hello,
but there was a change. Hello.
Anyway, should we start talking about how much this show loves women? I feel like that's very relevant. Right here.
The first thing I learned about this show was I was watching Glass Reflection just to see like, you know, anime that is out, because that was the way that I kept up with what anime was out for years.
Shout out to Glass Reflections, am I right? OG.
Yeah, and like literally the first thing I ever learned about, well, one of the first things I ever like committed to memory about the show, it's like just the exact way he delivered his was that the main female lead is introduced with a panty shot. It's just like she's 12, by the way. That
Isn't
got
she
engraved so deep into my brain.
That particular shot I didn't have too much of a problem with. If it weren't followed up with the show that we got, I think it makes sense to show that Shiro is not the kind of character who cares for propriety. Just in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
propriety...
Shiro is such a my partner character. Shiro is a character that my partner points to and goes gender.
Like, Shiro is
like...
a slob who does not think about other people's perceptions of her.
But like, I don't think that the first shot communicates that, because she just has some kind of uniform and is wearing panties, and she's just alone with her brother in their apartment. Like, who would judge her for that?
Not trying to impress anybody. Like, plus,
I'm
you
the kind
have
of
to
person
imagine
better when
she
dressing
lives
up,
alone
even when I'm just staying
with
home.
Sora. What kind
Look,
of
I
instruction
think-
is she getting on life?
Look, the bottom line is that shot has camel toe. For an 11-year-old, I don't think there's a way
Yeah.
to explain that. That's just going to boil down to characterization.
What? No. No. It
No.
can't
I'm
be.
very confident. I consciously noticed
It
that just because it's
can't
that
be.
shocking.
The
I
thing-
would be willing to bet on it.
What, anime
I,
disrespecting women? No. On
I will
purpose?
say,
Never.
though,
Not in
will
my
say-
no game, no life.
that Sora never actually like sexualizes Shiro.
Bet.
So like yeah, that's the most I could credit I could give it, to be like, well, at least he's not
Do
a
you
pedophile.
remember during episodes 11 and 12 near the end when Shiro says, "Hey Sora, why did you aim directly for my panties with your gun? You didn't have to do that." And Sora says something to the effect of, "Oh, don't worry about that."
I think what he said was, it's like he was like, because like the amount of clothes that she had, I think was such that like he could have aimed for her dress, which was the
Yeah.
only thing covering most of her, or
It
her
was
panties,
either her dress
which
or
were
her
covered by her
panties,
dress.
and he chose her dress, or he chose her panties instead of showing everybody off, like showing her off to the entire crowd, the entire 3 million people in the stadium. Yeah, so I don't like the Sora. I mean, he is a slob. He's a sleazy guy, kind of, you know. But it's never towards his little sister. So thank God for that, at least.
Well, Shiro does not return the favor.
No, but Shiro is also an 11-year-old with a stupid crush on her big brother. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's-
And the
she's-
Watsonian in me appreciates that. The Doyleist does not.
Okay. All right.
That's a succinct way of putting it, but I don't think it really changes much when it comes to Stephanie or even some of the other like female characters.
What female
Yeah.
characters?
Like-
I think
There are no female characters in this show.
like Clamshell.
I got your
Like,
joke.
it's
That was
okay.
very funny.
What were the words? Right. Like, I think the thing that really made me go, oh, this show actively dislikes women was when they just decided, Sora telling her, Sora, like, attempting to impart his, like, ethos upon Clamshell. Is just that, and then she just breaks down bawling like a baby.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that seems, Like, it just seems like they just did that to have her cry because they were like, it'll be satisfying if she cries at the end of this.
So I do agree with you, but I think if it was taken more seriously, I think the problem is that it's a gag. If it was taken more seriously and she was actually like legitimately crying and it was supposed to be an emotional moment, I would totally 100% buy into it, because from her perspective, she thinks these guys are working with like another race. And they're going to tear down the kingdom and ruin humanity, and she's trying to save it by, working with the elves and, being best friends with one of their, I guess, leaders or whatever, one of their higher ups.
Being best friends
and-
with the woman who
Nobles.
owns her.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she thinks essentially like, oh, we're fucked now. We are fucked. And if she was just crying normally, I think that would be fine. But the fact that she like breaks that and they kind of make a gag out of it, because it's supposed to be like, oh, they're breaking her facade, and she's actually not this cool, calm, collected beauty that we think she is. She's actually, she can actually be like a brat. It's like, okay, all right, fine, but like, I think it could have been done well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so too, which is why it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Speaking of Clammy, shall we get to episode 3?
Yeah.
We should.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 3, which is written in Romanji as Ekasupato.
Akasupato?
Episode 3 is called Expert.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
As Sora, Shiro, and Stephanie crash Clammy's coronation, they reveal that Clammy won games by using magic from Phil Nirvalin, who is one of the elves, the 7th-ranked pointy-eared race living in the vast land of Elvengerd. Although Clammy salvages the situation, she is forced to challenge Sora and Shiro to a game. Clammy later informs Sora, Shiro, and Stephanie that she plans to cut ties with the elves after she wins the game. After Sora and Shiro refuse to withdraw, Clammy challenges them to a game of live chess using animated chess pieces. After Sora deduces that charisma and leadership skills affect the gameplay, Shiro is shown to be capable of sacrificing her chess pieces, losing her knight in the process. Sora takes over and rallies his remaining chess pieces, which gives him an advantage over Clammy. However, Clammy is forced to cheat by corrupting Sora's chess pieces in retaliation. Sora persuades Clammy's queen to join his side, declaring her king to be corrupt. As Shiro reassures Sora that everything will be okay, Sora comes up with a plan to turn the tables. Oh, how the turntables.
Oh, how the turntables. I really liked the moment where Shiro was like on the verge of tears as she's trying so hard to play the game the way that she knows how to play the game, but literally the game won't cooperate with her. And Sora just has to be like, don't worry, I got you. Like, I liked him stepping in.
I liked that. I liked the
energy
with
of
the
that
controller before.
Handing the controller to your oldest sibling.
True.
Brother,
True.
I can't beat the game.
Please do for me. I honestly like this game was. I mean, this one to me was the worst, but not. I mean, obviously, in terms of logic and in terms of like it being an actual game, like it's clearly the worst. But it did have a lot of fun moments that I was just like smiling at. I was just like, oh, this is funny. Like I'm actually enjoying myself. Because I kind of just get to see Sora be over the top, and you know, normally when it comes to people,
such a
he's
good
not.
fucking theater kid.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it comes
dating sim roleplay chess, Retsog says.
True. That is very true. But when it comes to people, like he's terrified and he can't be out in public, and he's like, well, fuck it, I don't know what to do, you know. But when it comes to a game, he's just so loud and expressive and fun and over the top, and that's really endearing. So that was the most fun I had with this.
So what I'm going to say about it doesn't matter at all. But
okay.
I feel like the point of this game is saying, all right, somebody who's ruling a nation has to have the charisma and leadership skill to influence the people. And they don't. Not in this world. In this world, the person who is the leader of the nation does not have to appeal to the people at all. The people have no recourse against them.
Yeah.
There is no
game,
mandate
they already
of
own the
leadership
entire
in
kingdom.
Disboard.
Yeah. Really weird.
I guess you could make...
Wait, but they do have a king, so
Yes.
what?
But that's because he won to become king, right?
Yeah. He
No, okay,
just
hold on.
has
So,
the power.
the
The
way
power
that
doesn't come from the will of the people in Disboard. The power comes from your ability to win at Pokemon Emerald Nuzlocke.
Yeah. But, okay,
Yeah.
hold on. The way that it was described was interesting to me. It's that the king, instead of doing the normal lineage thing, he set up the gambling tournament in his last will and testament. Like, I think they said instead of, like, as if to say, like, Stephanie would be leading this country by herself if her grandfather had not actively said, I am setting up a gambling tournament. Whoever can, like, be the best at poker will win the kingdom. And I think he did this partially because he was like, I guess, like he was like, my strategies so far in running my own kingdom have failed me, but I know there's something to it. I know there's this to it, and I know that someone who is better at taking calculated risks would be better at running my kingdom. And so I will set it up so that the best possible option happens. But I don't actually think that every whatever you call it, crisis of lineage, that like every lineage is dictated by who won a game.
But every lineage could be.
Probably not.
Because anybody has the right to challenge the throne. They can say, all right, I bet my life against the throne. Please play a game with me. Name your game.
Well, maybe the point is then that the reason that they don't challenge the throne is because the king is good at influencing people,
Could be.
which goes back to what you were saying, because they do make that whole big speech about like, oh, we're we are, you're new kings or whatever, we're weak, we are hopeless, but we're actually super strong, or we're gonna turn the strong against each other, and we're gonna make it, we're gonna do this, right, we're gonna go home, right. But the
Let's do this, Reddit.
yeah, exactly, the whole game does not necessarily play out like that, but I think through bits and pieces you could kind of connect the whole thing together. I mean, Sora calls right the old king like the ultimate gambler because he took such a monumental risk and it just so happened to work out, right? Um, but I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way unless he's like actually a cool guy, Like he had to have been good with people for people to be like, "Oh, you've lost 8 times, you've lost all this land. We still trust you," Like he had to have been good with people.
I think Loot has this chess game exactly right. They said it's really where the show declares that it's not a mystery where you're trying to figure out how they're going to win. Instead, it's a spectacle where you're not supposed to think about it.
Yeah.
Which is the exact problem I have with No Game, No Life. Like, maybe I have a rose-tinted view of Death Note because I haven't seen it in a while. But when I was watching Death Note, bought that Light Yagami was smarter than I could figure out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe
I feel
wouldn't feel that way on a rewatch. But as I was watching it the first time, I remember feeling like, okay, I believe that this is a smart character who has a plan, and when it is revealed to me, it will make sense.
I kind of well, look, yes, I do agree to some extent, but there's also plenty of times in the show where like Light was just like, he was an idiot. He did the stupid thing. So like, yes and no.
Well, let me address that real quick, because being a smart person who is good at planning and strategy does not mean that you always win. Like, there's that famous line from Star Trek where Picard says to Data that you can make every correct move and still lose. That's not weakness, that's life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you simply will not win. That doesn't mean your plan was wrong.
Yes, but there was like I'm trying to remember a really specific, because it's also been a long time since I've watched Death Note, but like there were specific times where like L baited Light into doing something. I mean, no, okay, all right. Going back to the whole premise of like why Light even was remotely found out at all is because L was like, "Hey, I'm gonna broadcast this thing on TV in a very specific area because I think, based on where all of these murders have been happening, it could be in this section of Japan, right?" And so because, I'm gonna put myself, quote unquote, put myself on TV, and if I die, like that's that means that I'm right. Baiting Light into doing something, and when Light falls for it, L is like, "Yeah, clearly I've outsmarted you." Like, but like in that situation, yes, Light clearly did something really fucking stupid. Like, why would you do that?
Sure, because he's an arrogant human with flaws.
Yes,
who is still very smart and very good at strategy. The fact that Light fails is part of what helps sell the idea that he is a very smart and strategic man.
Interesting.
Like, Sora never fails. Never once in any significant way at all. And that makes him not a person. It makes him something to watch for wish fulfillment.
Okay, yes, he is. I mean, he is part of a like this big, especially back in the 2010s, he was like this. If you come from the old school of Digibro, he was this otaku hero, right? Like he was something that otakus could project themselves onto and be like, the world is unfair, it sucks, but like I'm really smart and good at games.
Yeah.
And even though I'm an outcast, I can make, I can be something more, and I can. It's all wish
If
fulfillment,
the
right?
rules of the world were different, I would be king.
Yeah, but there was I was in the Discord chat, I responded to Jams about something where the only time Sora does quote unquote lose is against Stephanie. Stephanie actually beats him ideologically because of her belief and her hope in her grandfather that he wasn't an idiot and a moron and that everything was for a purpose it had to have been. And she's eventually validated by the end of whatever episode 8 or 7. And that's the only time where Sora actually loses, and in any like meaningful way, it's to Stephanie. And I think when it is like when it comes to the games, they can't lose because that's the whole premise of the show. So the only way you can have it them losing is like ideologically, and that's the only time where their ideologies come in conflict with another important character, like another main character, and they lose out. So yeah, while Sora does not lose like games, there is points in the show where they are clearly like he is wrong.
Yeah, I think when it comes to this whole issue, the show that was like foremost in my mind was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because like the fights in that series are very very much emphasize the like having to outsmart your opponent aspect. I think that's also why I disagree with Loot what you wrote there. I don't think the issue is that Shiro and Sora have to win. I think the issue is just the way they win feels like it's kind of the hand of the author, or them just like being incredibly smart, but like as a pure power, not as like actual cleverness you can understand.
Right. No, I don't think it's
I mean,
necessarily a problem that Sora and Shiro win every game. I think if that were written a bit more deftly, it would be fun to watch. I do agree with Loot that they can't possibly lose, because if they did, the story would be over. It's the problem I talked about in my Food Wars video. But I don't think it's a problem that they always win necessarily.
My thing about the games, if we're talking about them through the lens of this fucking chess game, is that the fact that the games are so important to the main characters means that we should care about the games as like mechanical, interesting things to interact with. Like it's not that the audience should necessarily be able to solve everything all of the time, so much as the games should not feel like nonsense.
Like,
and it's like most of the games feel like nonsense.
They do. Like, think of sports anime and how they handle things. Yeah, hell, think of Blue Lock. Blue Lock is a great example of this.
Okay,
because
I'm ready.
The way Blue Lock is structured is ludicrous. It's a soccer battle royale with occasional arbitrary rules thrown in and stupid tournament structure. But we know how to play soccer, and we know what the characters can do. So when things happen, even if they don't make sense technically, they feel like they follow a narrative line. Right? No Game No Life doesn't feel like that. No Game No Life feels like things happen. It feels like things happen because they would be dramatic and entertaining moments. It tries to have its explosions without having a fuse.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that might be the right way to put it.
I wouldn't say that's the case for all the games, but yeah, I generally agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
Like the best example, aside from the rock paper scissors game, I think, is the Shiratori game that Tenek was talking about.
Yeah.
Because that at least in retrospect makes sense. Because Sora goes back
Yeah.
and he tells the viewer what his plan was from the beginning.
Yeah,
but
because you can't just spell it all out right there and that. Yeah.
But everything else is ludicrous. It's ridiculous.
Fun
to watch sometimes.
Yeah, yes, I agree. I guess maybe I just wasn't so caught up in the games. Like I enjoyed seeing it be that ludicrous and over the top, and fantastical. Even if I couldn't participate, only because I don't know, maybe it was just because if you're going to participate in a game like that, like it has to be something kind of like sports, like it has to be where there is a lot of action and movement happening, explaining things like each piece of the game board. Like that's not entertaining to watch, So to make it entertaining, all right, let's make it over the top, I guess.
You know what this show is? I just had an epiphany. Like the exact same show. Do you know what this is? It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Kingdom.
Oh my god.
I haven't seen enough Yu-Gi-Oh!
Come on, man.
That series in
Beat for
particular.
beat, it is the exact same show. At least when it comes to the themes and the way the battles
At least
are
when it comes
organized.
to
You challenge somebody, they say, oh yeah, we're going to play this game for 3 star chips. Then you go into a sequence where they play a game where anything can happen at any time, and you are told that there is strategy involved, and then somebody wins. All for the fate of Yugi's grandpa. Which is weird that Sora's fighting for that in No Game, No Life, but whatever.
I can see where you're coming from. I guess I've seen a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, so like I know how the game works, and in the original series, like they just didn't play the game, man. They just weren't playing the game.
That's why I called out Duelist Kingdom specifically.
But like, well, yeah,
anything can happen at any time, and there are no logical rules that the viewer can follow to know who's winning.
Also, most of the time, people are cheating. So
sure,
that's also.
And sometimes people are cheating. No Game, No Life does it too.
Yeah.
I think every single game someone was cheating except for the rock paper scissors.
No, the Shiratori game, they weren't cheating in that, right?
I don't. think so.
No one cheated during Shiratori.
I mean, they don't cheat.
Very interesting that the only games where no one was cheating are the ones that we were like, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the. I guess that's part of the bombastic experience of it, is to see them overcome cheating through bullshit.
Sure.
That you don't understand.
Fight
it just kind of happens.
Bullshit. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it would be more interesting. They would be more interesting as characters if we saw them say out loud, the reason we didn't call you out is because we just straight up think we're cooler than you. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, they could call out anyone cheating at any time. They see people cheating constantly, and they just go, nah, we're still gonna win. And they do. And that's crazy that, like it's like, they don't, like, if they cared about the sanctity of the game, so to speak, they would call out, hey, you're cheating. But they don't care about the sanctity of the game. They care about winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that bothers me.
I mean, I think it's fun when they look at someone cheating and they say, oh, they're cheating, we can use that against them like this.
Yeah.
We can use that to our advantage. I don't think it's as much fun when they're like, oh, they're cheating, we'll just beat them anyway.
I think it also serves as like a breaking point for the opponent to be like, I'm cheating and I still lost to these guys, and they're like, clearly they're just like, yeah, you lost from the beginning, like we knew it was going on. Like that in itself is entertaining. But yeah, the games they could definitely be more well considered, but I still think overall they have entertainment value to them.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the only thing I really have left to say, at least as far as general concerns go, is that I was really, like, after watching this show, I was really surprised just by how popular it is and how popular it seems to have remained after 10 years for a show whose like main crux these games seem to be like kind of underwhelming. That's something all of us can agree on here, it seems.
Yeah.
I
A lot of people just want to be on for the ride, you know? Like they just want they like when over the top bombastic things are happening. I think people get absorbed into that a lot.
I can understand that, but I don't think I can understand why a show like that would have like 2.5 million people on now. Maybe. What's the cultural zeitgeist we're talking about here?
I guess zeitgeist isn't the right word, but like its place in like anime culture, like it's like No Game No Life is so recognizable. Like it won in a landslide in this vote, partially because people just recognize it more than anything else that was on the vote, right?
True.
So like, it's like, so like I think like the thing that bothers me ethically about No Game No Life, because I'm a pretentious motherfucker, is that I don't think it deserves that place in the cultural zeitgeist. I think it should just be like a silly little novelty that was a blip on the radar, and like some people are like, yeah, it's really pretty and colorful, you can watch it if you want, it's mostly spectacle. Like it makes me a little bit it raises my hackles.
If I could throw in my 2 cents about the zeitgeist of it, I've always looked at No Game No Life as SAO's little brother. In just the same way that like there is a lot of spectacle, there is a lot of just over the top like just otaku-ness, No Game No Life appeals way more to like nerd culture than SAO ever did, with all of its references and goofy gags and stuff like that. You know, they literally turn into JoJo characters and start spouting. That alone is going to bring in 1 million people, right? Like,
so you think it's like the
that
Ready
was very
Player One
cute.
effect?
That was one of my favorite moments for those two.
This is the Ready Player One of anime, and no, I have not seen that movie.
It kind of yes and no, but like I think when SAO came out, a lot of people got on board with the idea of isekai because, you know,
because it's not one.
SAO is what popularized, quote unquote, popularized light novel isekai, but like not to say that it wasn't a thing before that, or that like isekai as a genre wasn't a thing before SAO. But
in the same way that Sailor Moon codified a lot of magical girl shit, SAO did something with the isekai genre.
Yes. And like there's no denying that like light novel adaptations blew up because of SAO, right? That's just what happened. So you see another one where it's like it's just all gamer culture shit, right? And it's over the top and flashy and poppy, and you kind of just can settle in and vibe with the characters and like, oh, they're so smart, look at them. Like, but like it gained its reputation, like it garnered its reputation based on those merits alone, and then I don't think people have gone back and watched it. I think that's probably like
that's what I was gonna point out here.
Yeah, it has just stayed like this type of show in everybody's minds. Hey, it's like this. Hey, it's like this.
Yeah,
and we've gotten all these other light novel adaptations, and nothing has changed.
Remember what all of us said about No Game No Life at the beginning of this stream? Man, this is not as good as I remembered it being.
Oh.
I think people haven't gone back to watch it in 10 years, and that's why it's still so popular.
Yes.
Oh.
I could definitely believe that.
Yeah, I also think it's probably like, along with that, like, because we have so much stuff now, when I say stuff, light novel adaptations now, you go back to a show from 10 years ago, even if you are going back, and it's way radically different stylistically than everything else you had seen, people are going to look at that and appreciate it more, because now we just don't have that anymore.
Well,
you know, I think the landscape has changed.
Here's a question, is how popular do you think No Game No Life would be if it released today?
Not very.
No, I disagree. I think it would be very popular still.
I think it would be very popular for the season or for the year that it's out, but it wouldn't have the sticking power that it does right now.
I think it would be about at the same level as like Chivalry of a Failed Knight or Cabaneri in the Iron Fortress. Stuff that was very popular when it was coming out, still has a little bit of a following, but nobody really talks about it too much.
Really.
It's like if you really like Sword Art Online, man, have I got this show that you're gonna love. It's kind of niche, but it's really pretty.
Yeah.
It is really pretty.
I feel like it might have a little bit more pop to it than those shows, just because of social media now. But yeah, it would probably have like a cult following like those shows do.
I also think of all the isekai that I can think of off the top of my head, No Game No Life has the most unique protagonists, because one, there's two of them, but also two, like, they have personality traits that directly relate to why they got into this isekai specifically.
I wanted to bring up
like the god of games said, you're true gamers.
As a counter argument, Loot mentions that the No Game No Life Discord is very active. I'm assuming those are people who are actively keeping up with a story that is still coming out, as opposed to anime fans who have not received new content in 10 years. Like, the No Game No Life manga and light novels might still be popular in manga and light novel circles. But
No Game No Life got like a movie like 3 years after, right? But even then, like, it's so little.
But to bring things back into the anime discussion sphere, Jams, you're right, and I did want to mention Sora and Shiro as isekai protagonists, because I love the conceit of this show, that Sora and Shiro have been brought into this other world where they actually belong, and why would they want to leave? Especially back in 2014, that was very unique and refreshing. Because every isekai is like, oh, we gotta defeat the demon whatever, or get the 7 things and get back home. And Sora and Shiro are like, why the fuck would I want to go back to Tokyo? There's a world of games here.
Yeah, oh my god.
Like, this is the first time I've been outside of the house and not have my agoraphobia triggered horribly.
One of my friends, though, recently brought up, because he was like, man, I just watched, what the fuck is it called? Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash.
Ew.
He's like, I just watched that. Yeah, he's like, I love it because they're just normal people in an isekai world. And I'm like, I feel like people could just get caught up in whatever. They're like, yeah, well, they're not flashy, they're not special, they're just normal people trying to survive in, whatever XYZ world. And I'm like, dude, that show sucked though. Like, I don't care, you know what I mean?
What's the show?
Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. And to be fair, I actually haven't seen it. The name just makes me recoil.
Oh no, dude, the show was dog shit. Sure. Oh my god. Anyway, yeah.
It's like one of those blank of blank and blank novels.
Yeah, but I think
A Song of Ice and Fire is good. What are you talking about?
I think people will
sounds like trash.
Appreciate Sora and Shiro, but like, they are special, and I think people might just be like, oh, well, it's more special people, like, of course these guys are chosen to go to whatever special world, you know what I mean? It's a lot kind of like Outbreak Company, where like the main character is specifically chosen to go to another world because he is an otaku, like, so yeah, I just I think people can get tired of those tropes, at least.
I do also want to say, I feel like even if No Game No Life came out today, just the world itself, even not taking into consideration the protagonists, is, I feel like, a lot more interesting than the generic run-of-the-mill isekai world, just because it has this whole history that, like, contextualizes the rules it has. So, I don't know, like, maybe if the show was about that war period or something before that, where you would just have a bunch of generic fantasy races, that wouldn't be interesting, but just the fact that now it's like the god of games.
No, I do think the world building is one of the strongest parts of No Game No Life, and it's not particularly strong, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's like, so many isekai are just like, let's shove video game elements in there. it'll be fun, it'll
Mm-hmm.
be interesting. And I'm like, okay, so why does everything appear as like a stat screen in front of people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, No Game No Life is like, let's actively hide the existence of video games and make it a twist.
Yeah, which is a good twist, I think.
No, that bit
I
was
think
fun. I liked that reveal.
I think it's a fun, good twist, yeah.
Yeah. We should probably keep moving to get to the twist.
We're not gonna get there.
Speed run, let's go!
Yeah.
I mean, I think like we discussed so much of it, we're probably gonna breeze through a lot of episodes.
Sure,
Individual episodes.
I'm just using the episodes as a way to keep conversation going when it lulls. But episode 4 is called Grand Master. And in it, Clemmy is caught off guard when her chess pieces gradually defect to her former queen, and her king is eventually assassinated due to her tyrannical rule. With Sora and Shiro now victorious, Sora denounces Clemmy for her plan to assimilate humanity with the elves, telling her not to underestimate humanity. 3 days later, Sora and Shiro are crowned the representative king and queen of humanity, and they begin resolving political and economic problems in Elkia. At their coronation, Sora and Shiro give compelling speeches before being bestowed the king race piece of humanity, a chess piece which represents the nation's rights and free will. At night, Sora and Shiro learn that the Flugel are the 6th-ranked angelic race of the Exceed living in a floating nation of Avantime. They are visited by Tet, who explains that whoever gathers all 16 chess pieces from each species will earn the right to challenge him for his title of god. In response, Sora and Shiro accept his challenge, declaring that they will be the winner.
Yep.
Floating island, cool. Like Floating Island.
I liked the little gag where they were like,
it's Laputa.
And like for a second, everyone was.
I like the reference.
I like how every time they reference something, they have to blur it out. Like,
Except
they have to like censor it.
They don't.
Do they
because,
not?
No, they mention later, like, when they freak out about being in Tokyo, Sora explains to Shiro, like, no, this is a video game, like Persona or Steins Gate or Akiba Strip.
Well, in the sub, they blurted those out.
They didn't in the dub. They did blurt out Laputa. They didn't let him say that.
They censored those in the sub. That's okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that was just the difference.
They did put the little bars over the eyes in both versions.
Mm-hmm. Well, your version was something else. Like.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take your word for any of that.
My version was the better one. Yeah, I liked all those references because I got to go, oh, reference, I've played all those. Yay, they're just like me for real, right? Like that's all it is.
Yeah, reference with humor is very like, ooh, a piece of candy or something.
Haha,
like
you understand that.
Yeah, and if you don't, you're like, what the fuck is happening? What are they talking about?
I don't think it's bad if used sparingly, and I think it's fine in a situation like this where the characters would reasonably be defined by their references to things. Like, these are the kinds of people who would reference things and call that a personality.
Yeah.
But, like, it reminds me so much of our discussion about Wotakoi. Love is Hard for Otaku. And God, I hated that show beyond all reason. So much more than it deserved.
No, it deserved
just
it.
because of the references.
No, but they did not help.
That just sucks.
Mm.
No,
oh wait, hold on.
Oh god, James.
I just wanted to say I really love the lore element of the race piece. I love having a little totem. I love when things are physical. This is part of why I love magical girl shit, because it's like you get a compact and then you say your magic words and you transform. It's really great. And so like I just love that they are given a physical representation of like the thing, and the idea that it like appears magically before them as though like nobody handed this to them. It just appeared before them when they accepted the role as king, like jointly. And I like that like later on, like when they bet it, everybody who is connected to that piece, it's as if like their souls are connected to that piece in some way, and it like appears on their skin like, hey, you're in danger.
No, like the idea of the race piece is very anime. I like it. I guess it doesn't really affect my opinion of the show one way or the other. It's just a hype thing, and I like a hype thing.
I do like the fact though that well, I don't know if this is necessarily how it works, but all the like they have the king race piece, right? The king is the weakest piece on the board, much like humanity, which is the weakest race of all 16, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I
But
never put that
also the
together.
one that they have to go after to win the game, right? Showing that Sora and Shiro are clearly the ones that, like, just tying it all together through the race piece. I thought that was cool. But sucks to be a pawn piece, right? If you're a race that's a pawn, you're like, what
Damn.
the fuck is this?
Yeah, it is interesting
Yeah.
that many of the races have race pieces that are identical to other races.
Yeah.
Like, you have the king and queen piece, but everyone else shares a race piece with another race. And I wonder if that's
That is
thematically
fun.
relevant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I'd assume it just has to do with their ranking. Like, presumably.
I think it would be interesting if the top ranking
pawns are-
ones are all pawns.
Yeah, the first 8 are pawns, and then it goes in chess point order.
But that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That might, yeah. But just
I
going
think they
back
probably
real
understand this
quick
episode.
to the references, because I just wanted to bring up the fact that, like, some of the references are, like, pretty like diegetic. Like when Sora starts playing Phoenix Wright music on his phone and is like, objection,
no!
like, that's really funny.
Yep.
That's so great.
Because, like, and, like, even if you don't like know what Phoenix Wright is, it's still just happening in the scene. It's just normal music. But if you get it, you're like, oh yeah, cool. But it, like, as opposed to, like, other references where it's like, oh, just thing, here is thing, do you like?
Also, I'm pretty sure objection specifically is so deep in the cultural zeitgeist. Basically, anyone who has heard that before knows that it's referencing that thing specifically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, did they
Yeah.
did they
absolutely.
censor the word objection?
That would be so funny if
I
they did.
think so. Did they not?
I don't remember it being censored. I think it's just said.
They might have, because I think they also they censored something in the same episode, but I can't remember what it was.
I mean, look, Capcom doesn't have the copyright to the word objection, do they?
No, but they
No.
would have the
No, but-
they would have the copyright on it being portrayed that way in that speech bubble.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they just got away with it. I don't think
I don't
I'm gonna
remember.
report it to them.
I don't
Sounds
remember
like
either.
transformative works or whatever.
Let's get No Game No Life canceled once and for all.
Yeah,
I think
for
it already
copyright
is.
on copyright grounds. That's what No Game No Life deserves to be canceled for.
Exactly.
It hasn't had a second season in 10 years, and you're like, yeah, let's cancel it. I think it already is, brother.
See, now we know who did it. Now we know who to blame.
I also love
The
the,
Capcom
idea
ninjas.
that the four of us, the Council of Wokestry, can get a series canceled just with a flip of our hat.
Well, listen, we have a diversity hire. It's me.
We have power.
Anyway,
Yeah,
everybody write to the anime studio. It was Madhouse, right?
Yeah, Madhouse.
Everyone write to Madhouse and say, don't you dare make a second season of No Game No Life.
Damn.
You're
Yeah,
gonna
like,
you're gonna get Capcom coming down on your heads here any moment.
They're opening their letters and they're like, this is all in English. I can't read this. What is it?
I think it
Take
says.
classes in
Does
English.
this say Capcom? Capcom. Is this from Capcom?
Yeah, I know that word. Yeah. This episode is. I mean, we've talked a lot about it already, so I think we just kind of keep going.
Episode 5
Yeah.
is called Weak Square. As Stephanie is fed up with Sora and Shiro delegating their duties to her, Stephanie challenges Sora to a game with a wager of him being a decent person. If she wins, Stephanie challenges Sora to a game of blackjack. Sora wins with the card counting, even though Stephanie attempted to implement false shuffling. After humiliating 3 aristocrats, Sora uses his wager to dress up Stephanie in a dog costume. However, Stephanie closely resembles one of the war beasts, the 14th ranked animal-eared race of the Exceed living in the islands of the Eastern Union, who possess superior senses and physical abilities as well as a sixth sense. Stephanie challenges Sora and Shiro to several prediction games, only for the former to lose her dignity each time. As Sora and Shiro exploit Stephanie for not having knowledge improbability, they tell her that there is not enough information about the werebeasts. Realizing that Sora and Shiro were not fooling around with their duties, Stephanie redirects them to the main library in Elkia, owned by Drabil, the youngest and strongest Flügel.
We haven't even mentioned Jibril this whole time.
And why would
Holy
we?
crap,
Just,
yes.
like she's just kind of there.
She is just kind of the. I have this
Bon
weird.
Tag, homies.
Listen, I have this horrible, horrible habit of just grafting onto the character that is just there for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jabril so much. She's got strong Valkyrie energy. She's a war criminal. She's a slut. I love her.
Well, don't love Jabril. Stop that.
She's a slut.
Yeah, I wonder what.
Now we're gonna cancel this stream if we don't stop.
Yeah, we're gonna get canceled by Muslims.
I mean...
Tom did mention Jabril from the Holy Quran, the very same, because I said something stupid in Discord as usual. It's like, did the author of this just read the word Gabriel wrong? Like,
you know how I found that out?
How?
I saw your comment and then I picked up my phone and I typed in Jibril in Google and the first thing that came up.
Yeah, no, you can see how seriously I take my responsibilities as a professional anime man. I just say shit, guys. I'm ChatGPT with a 200,000 subscriber platform. Don't listen to me.
Well, because you said it, and I was like, I wonder, because it sounds, like Middle Eastern or whatever, and you're just like, oh, well, let's figure it out, like, why not? The first thing that actually came up when I typed in Jabril was a football player, and I was like, that's not it, but, like, right under that is Jabril Gabriel in whatever or something, and I was like, oh, it's Arabic.
Mm-hmm. It's Kodomo no Jikan with neats.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of something I wanted to ask before. How the hell do they keep charging their tablets and phones?
Solar charger.
Where's the electricity coming from?
Solar charger. They explained that in episode 1.
They do?
Yeah,
Okay,
they have a charger with solar panels.
That does actually make sense.
They're environmentally conscious, even as neats.
Well, it's more like
in their dark room.
They can't risk the power being out and not being able to charge their 3DS.
You're so right, actually.
They honestly
like,
could
what
have
if
just
there's a
been like,
blackout?
they honestly could have just been like, there's magic in the air that works differently with like our technology, and so our things work. And I would have been like, fine, that's totally cool. But the fact that they were like, no, it's actually, there's a reason. There's an actual reason for it. I'm like, all right, good on you. Good on you, show.
I don't even know if solar-powered phone chargers are a thing. It doesn't seem like that would be efficient enough. Like, maybe if you set it in the window for like a week to charge up energy.
Yeah. Also, they don't have windows in their room, so what would that... But it's just, I don't know. I think it's a creative enough thing to just be like, yeah.
No, I'm fine. I'll accept it.
It's a panel.
So we finally meet Jabril, who is so awful.
She's so awful. I love her.
Yeah, I feel like
just there for resin figure sales.
Like, obviously the show wants to have a lot of waifus. That's why it only really has one male character. And I feel like if you're gonna do waifus that really love the main character, the main male lead for bad reasons, this is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, I kind of like don't I kind of don't really care if it's all females, as long as they're good, like as long as they're cool. Like if they want to get off their, figure sales, by all means go ahead. I don't really give a shit. But like don't make them nothing. Like don't make them just kind of there, like Jibril, like she's just there, man. Like there's really not much to say about her. She's like an arrogant, cocky piece of shit, and like that's cool. But like so is Sora. I feel like her personality type doesn't it
Isn't
overlaps a
required.
lot with everybody else. Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean it's true she doesn't do much. I feel like I still hated the way they treated Stephanie for just the whole show a lot more
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
than
this
the
episode
fact
in
that Jabril was
particular
not
was
used.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, horrible.
I don't think there's a single woman in this show whose existence I admire or respect.
dang, wow.
Okay,
that's
want to explain yourself?
I just feel like every woman in this show makes it worse. Because all of
No.
them are clearly included for very, like, exegetic reasons that I do not find respectable personally.
Yeah.
I really like the shrine, what the fuck is the high shrine maiden or whatever.
The
The,
shrine
the fox
priestess.
girl who's introduced naked in the bath with her boobies out in the middle of the screen.
Oh,
That one.
that one. I forgot that's how
Jams
she was
likes her,
introduced in
so
my
you're
head.
not allowed to dislike her,
You're
okay?
right.
Jams likes her.
Oh, and yeah, what about that? The show has like at least 3 or 4 different odd like bath scenes.
Oh, the bath scenes.
My brain won't let me remember those. Would you explain them for me?
Okay.
Well,
Would you
I don't.
tell me what goes on in them? Because
They just talk about the plot, but they're bathing. The girls are bathing. Sora is just behind the rack,
girls are
so he
bathing.
doesn't see
Sora is
anything.
behind a little partition, just sat on the ground with all of his clothes on.
Mhm.
It's like,
And he still takes
It's like-
pictures.
the first time that it happens, she's over here, it's Stephanie, like just sort of shampooing what's the other part, Shira's hair.
Mhm.
Shiro.
And she's like, so explain to me why you are also in here. And he's like, well, you saw what happened the last time we lost sight of each other, but of course she still needs to bathe regularly. So this is the solution that we came up with in not the real one, in our old world.
Mhm. I do not remember
Yeah.
this happening.
Yeah, I
Well-
mean, it's not that, but none of the bath scenes are, like, relevant. Like, they're
Oh, I disagree.
nothing-
I think they're very relevant. I think they're the
How
only
else are they
relevant
gonna
thing.
convey the plot?
No, I meant, like, relevant to, like, what's the goings-on of the general plot. The fact that they're in the bath has nothing to do with the plot itself. It could have been, like, it could have happened in another type of scene, in any other type of scene, in any other different way. The only reason why they're there is for fan service. Like, that's it.
Mhm.
Even just vague
Yeah,
ideas. Of
But Tom, I do want to ask you: do you feel like this show is like excessive when it comes to ecchi shows of this period, or
Believe
Like,
it or
I don't
not,
tend to
I am
watch
not
ecchi,
that
so-
familiar with ecchi shows of the mid 2010s.
well, yeah, I don't expect you.
But-
That's why I'm asking Tom.
And you don't expect me to either?
I don't expect you to be. That's why I'm asking Tom.
Guys, he's clearly outed me as the gooner of the group, okay? So, like, right, this is my field of expertise, apparently,
Tom,
according to Teddy.
I don't think you can ever speak again. I think your life is over now, and any word that you append to the end of your days will not improve anything from here on out.
Loot, I have watched To Love Ru. That show is pretty bad.
Tom, stop talking.
Have you seen Heaven's Lost Property?
Okay, unironically, Heaven's Lost Property, the main girl is the first body pillow that I ever bought, unironically.
Tom.
What?
God.
Tom,
you have
cease
no right
speaking.
to defend yourself.
It's okay. I know.
I was completely justified.
I know. I now have a Kermit the Frog covering over that body pillow to hide my shame.
I think Icarus would like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
Completely
but yeah, no.
unrelated, but when it comes to discussions of fan service, did you all see that gushing over magical girls is happening again this season?
Again?
There's a show called
No.
Acro Trip that has the exact same premise but no sex, and I am I'm so excited to see how well it works.
I have not heard of this show.
Well, nobody has. It's a nothing show.
Oh, okay.
But
all right.
like we were going down the seasonal list and we get to Acro Trip and we're watching this like I've seen this before. I've seen a show about a girl who's obsessed with magical girls being coerced into joining the villain team for the sake of propping them up. I've seen this.
Yeah.
Why does she have clothes on?
That's
not how this show is supposed to be.
To answer your question, Tenek, not really.
That's your question.
It's kind of. I mean, it's like standard. It doesn't go like over the top. Like you want to talk about over the top? I mean, like fucking. I don't know. Let's talk about Punchline. Punchline is literally if the main character sees panties, the world explodes, and he sees them constantly. Like the whole show is about that, right? So like. I don't know. Like it's fine. It's there, and it's one of those fan service shows where it's like, at least to me, it's like I tune it out completely because I'm just so used to it. But like if it leaned a little bit harder into it, you could maybe give it some props, but it really doesn't. Not props, but like you could say something about it, but it doesn't do that much. Even the scenes where it's like kind of explicit with all like the like Jibril's whatever fucking shampoo bottle being a tentacle monster, like it doesn't even really doesn't even really fucking do anything. It's just kind of there, you know. Like
that's the thing that I don't like about the fan service elements of No Game No Life. It's like, if you want to blend genres, blend the damn genres. Don't just chuck stuff in there randomly.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think they want. I mean, literally in the Shiratori game, like Sora makes it a point to be like, "Hey, I've erased all the girls, like expletive parts of their genitals and stuff like that, so we can have them being fully clothed or fully nude, quote unquote, fully nude, but it not be a problem for TV censors, right? Like." They're clearly like making fun of it, but like that's kind of the worst it gets. It's like that's it. It's like who cares, you know? And it's like a fucking stupid joke. Like it's funny, I guess, but I don't know. It really doesn't do anything for I don't know the time period. It doesn't go out of its way as much as other shows did.
Yeah, that's
I'll
informative.
take your word for it.
Yeah,
Me too. Thank you. I was right to trust your expertise.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Episode 6 is called Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay.
Challenging Jabril to a game for the ownership of the main library, Sora and Shiro wager their tablet computer, which contains thousands of valuable ebooks. After Sora fondles Jabril's sensitive wings, Jabril offers her freedom in exchange. They play a game of materialization word chain where their words spoken will materialize or disappear from the environment, starting with an atomic bomb. During the game of materialization word chain, Sora tells Jabril that humanity is not as weak as she thinks. Sora and Shiro cleverly and gradually dismantle the planet by removing its outer core lithosphere and oxygen gas. This leads to them inducing a hypernova by nullifying Coulomb's law. Jabril loses the game of materialization word chain after realizing Sora and Shiro orchestrated the gameplay from the very beginning, and impressed Jabril solemnly swears her loyalty to Sora and Shiro, who allow Jabril to stay in the main library. I love the line in this description that says Jabril loses the game after realizing that Sora and Shiro orchestrated the gameplay from the very beginning. Like, man, Jabril loses the game after she realizes that Sora and Shiro had a plan. Like, that there was a strategy happening.
God damn, yeah. It's like, I really like, this is the game that I was most interested in, I think. Mainly because I really like wordplay in general, and also because it's like I just really liked the idea that, like, technically the laws of physics do exist. It's just that the people on this planet also have magic on top of the laws of physics, and so they don't think to investigate the laws of physics.
Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite explanations for medieval stasis in settings, like how Game of Thrones has been in the medieval period for 10,000 years and nothing's changed. Like, why would you investigate science when you have magic to investigate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I think I said before, I agree that like this is the best game in the whole show, but I felt like just the having like the world have the same natural laws or like the same natural principles as us feels like at least a bit contrived. If for no other reason other than like Sora doesn't actually have a reason to believe that's true.
Except
It
that he's
only
alive.
happens.
He's alive and he feels the forces of gravity and physics around him.
No, but look, what I'm trying to say is, like, maybe that entire world, and when they got transported into it, could have had like an entirely different constitution. Like maybe Aristotelian elemental theory would be the thing that explains everything. I don't know. In that case, all of his knowledge of science from our world would be worth jack shit. It's only worth something because the hand of the author makes it so that the world does operate by the same laws, like the Coulomb law.
I don't think that's reasonable, because Sora is, we assume, a being made of atoms and fundamental forces. If Sora can physically exist in this world, then the laws governing atoms and fundamental forces have to be similar enough to keep his physical being together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that.
He gets converted to being made of the 4 elements or whatever. And Tyler does rightfully mention in chat that the atom bomb worked.
Yeah, I mean...
that was entirely in a fictional setting. Well, I guess, I mean, that's the whole game is about this, so... But yeah,
Jibril does point out the fact too that they are unknown entities, like when she analyzes them, right? So like, even if it's to the point of like they have to be similar, like they are similar, they're just similar. Everything is just similar enough, and that's probably why Tet was like okay with bringing them here because he knew that they could survive and like exist, be not, blown to bits upon entry, because they're just like humans or humanity or whatever, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, David also mentions that even if the laws of physics in the real world are different, in the game, they're not.
Here's a quick distinction: is this a game? Or it like Sora and Shiro say it is a game, like they call it a game, but it's still a real world, right? Like it's not like you know what I mean? Like you go into what's a good example? Fuck Digimon. I don't know. Digimon, they go into the digital world, but that's still like, that is in itself a world that exists in their reality. They can go back and forth. But this is just like another universe, essentially. It's not an actual like video game, right?
It's a simulated reality.
I think it's like,
in the same sense that a video game is.
It's like a magic capsule, right? Of like it's like an Etch-a-Sketch universe. That like Jabril has the Etch-a-Sketch, and she goes, she has the magic Etch-a-Sketch that holds the universe inside of it, and she goes, "We're going in here." And then inside of here, if one of us dies, we lose the game. Cool? Cool. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. I like Etch-a-Sketch a lot. I like Etch-a-Sketch a lot.
Episode 7 is called Sacrifice. Jabril notes that Stephanie was only ordered to fall in love with Sora, not stay in love with him. Meanwhile, Clammy and Field discuss the quality of life in Elkia has improved. Jabril tells Sora, Shiro, and Stephanie about the history of the Werebeast, which reveals that the Werebeasts have been undefeated for half a century, always wiping the memories of opponents who lost the game, discovering that Makoto challenged the Werebeasts 8 times and lost a large amount of territory in the last decade. Sora denounces Makoto's motives as a king who brings tears to Stephanie's eyes. Upon further investigation at night, Sora sees Shiro as a genuinely pure human who strives to believe in Makoto's motivations. Previously entrusted by Makoto, Stephanie gives Sora a special key which unlocks a hidden library with Makoto's royal chambers. Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Jabril discover that Makoto did not have his memories erased, but instead recorded information about the Werebeast which would be passed on to the next ruler.
This was my favorite episode of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it it doesn't focus on any game stuff. I mean, it like game stuff. Why the king kept losing and losing and losing, but like there is real catharsis there for Steph. And she's been, the punching bag this whole time. But seeing her being validated by the end of it all, and seeing, Shiro, like, not Shiro, Sora's, like, perspective on the world, like, it having some, like, merit to it, but ultimately being wrong, I thought was the most emotionally gripping stuff that the show went for at all. So like the I don't know, I just really liked it. Yeah, that's basically it. It's basically just like a character study between Sora and Steph alone. They're the two primary characters of the episode. And because Steph's whole punching bag thing, I'm sorry, the whole like punching bag thing being like predicated already is it like it feels like it was for a reason. Not to say that it made it right, but it feels like it was almost excusable because of this.
I kept forgetting to say, in that episode where she just essentially loses progressively more of her clothing, is the like I saw it and something in the back of my brain went, "That's a metaphor," because God, because it's sort of like indicative of how like before Sora and Shiro bopped in, humanity was essentially losing more and more and more territory, more and more of its own like sort of like reputation amongst everyone. And so like they became smaller and smaller and smaller and less powerful and more humiliated in the eyes of like society of the world. And in that same way, like Steph is like losing more and more of her fucking clothes and trying so desperately to prove herself right, trying so desperately to like make them understand the thing that she's getting at, but she can't do it because she's looking at it incorrectly, sort of. It's like, and in that same way we go from that to the episode where Sora's like, this was inherently stupid and bad from the beginning, and Steph is over here like, no, there was a reason, I know it, I just can't explain it.
I hate that.
Makes sense.
I hate how correct that is.
Because it means that ecchi is actually justified narratively.
And I usually love when that happens.
Specifically that one.
But no, don't say that.
Dude, I think this
No,
one is
that's bad.
legitimately really good, man. And also because like by the end of the episode, like Sora straight up is like, you are just like your grandfather, like you are your grandfather's granddaughter, you know what I mean? Like you guys are the same type of person. And because he said like, what was the say? He said something specific like, oh, he is trying to understand the misunderstood, right? Like clearly that there was something like wrong with this guy, quote unquote wrong with this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what he just failed to understand is the hope and humility that comes with loss. And even though Steph, is not, she's not dumb, but she can't beat him at this game. She's still ultimately like the best character. Like I don't know, like the whole what the key, the whole key thing was really impactful to me. So like, and like hearing like Steph hearing why Sora believes in humanity's potential is because of Shiro, and her like being willing to give over the key. Like I just like this episode a lot.
I really liked, this is something I wish the entire series did a lot more of, but going through the reasoning behind each of the losses. Like, when he talked about how the elves fought the war beasts 4 times, and I only remember the first one, he was like, okay, what do the elves learn the first time they play this game? They learn that magic is not going to help them win it. Okay. So knowing that, they go into a second challenge. What do they learn when they lose the second time? And then so on and so on. Like, actually going through the information, following the conclusions, and doing real research to show that you are smarter than your opponents. That's what makes this kind of show satisfying.
Yeah. And then seeing that capitalized on and manipulating them later on in the series,
Yep. But just
That's why
seeing that kind of deduction happen was very satisfying in a way that the rest of the show isn't, because it skips that step.
Yeah, ironically, it ends up being a better game than the actual games.
I think when it gets into the overall like world politics of it, that's when the show really shines. Because of how Sora can like see the metagame of it all and try to manipulate everything and win out in the end. I think that was the most I guess that was the smartest part of the show to me.
Definitely. And in a show that is trying to be about smart people doing smart things, you need to be good at portraying smart things smartly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, episode 8.
Episode 8
is called Fake End. Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Jabril visit the embassy of the Eastern Union, where they meet Ino Hatsuse, the assistant ambassador to the Werebeasts. Inside the embassy, they meet Izuna Hatsuse, Ino's granddaughter and the ambassador of the Werebeasts. Sora and Shiro challenge Izuna and Ino to a game between the nations like Elkia and the Eastern Union for all the land of the continent. Based on the 4 games the elves lost to the Werebeasts, it is deduced that the Werebeasts made a video game that would allow them to cheat, meaning the Werebeasts cannot read minds. Threatening to leak the information to the elves if their challenge is not accepted, Sora and Shiro wager humanity's king race peace in Elkia's territory. 1 week later, Sora leaves to accept a challenge on his own. 2 days after that, Shiro realizes that Stephanie has no recollection of Sora.
God. The ending of this episode had no fucking right to go that hard. I was so mad. I was so mad that it went so hard.
I have to say, now that I hear the stakes again, I'm just confused. If like the real thing that made them be able to do the challenge was the threat of leaking information to their enemy, why even wager the race piece at all? Can you just wager something worthless?
There was some overarching strategy to wagering the race piece to begin with. I forget what it was, though.
Also, there is a rule that, like, the 2 parties have to barter something of equal value. What is more valuable than a state secret that keeps you prosperous the entirety of someone else's fucking race?
Yeah.
I would argue that the stakes were not of equal value, but that's technically not the pledge. The pledge is that each side must wager something that they agree is of equal value.
Yeah, but because under the Warbeast's assumption, they think, like, if this secret gets out, we will be invaded, we will be subjugated, we will become slaves, right? Like, so essentially, they are betting their race, just not explicitly through their race piece.
Yeah. I think, like, Tenek, you expressed confusion at one point as to why they thought they would be enslaved. I think multiple people did. I have a solution, sort of. I think the idea is that, like, if the territories that it is implied a bunch of beast folk now live on after the losses, it's like if the people who live there now have their land gobbled up by all of the people who originally were, like, had no way of beating them, if they have their land gobbled up, like, succinctly and quickly enough, then, like, essentially they are now under the purview of somebody else and they can do whatever they want, because, like, Clam Chowder over here is, like, still a slave. She's still owned by this woman. I need to emphasize, she says she is my owner. Is, not was. She is still God. So, like, it's the idea that slavery still exists in this world, presumably because, like it's like you still inherit the status of your family, and you, like something geopolitical nonsense, they're slaves still. So, like, It's
Yeah.
like the idea behind them being scared about it is that like we took all of this land via like tricksy nonsense, and now everyone is going to want to just fucking subjugate us forever because of this a little bit. And I think that's where the fear comes from.
Yeah, and even further than that, they say like if you bet your race piece and you lose it, you don't even you don't even count as a race anymore. You're like animals, so they could kill you then, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I have the impression like they're wagering something of too high value if they can already wager not leaking secrets.
Hold on. If you
What?
the phrasing is that if you lose your race piece, you are no longer bound by the pledges.
Yeah.
What's stopping the old Deus from betting their race piece, losing on purpose, and killing everyone?
I don't know
What?
if it's
Wait,
you're not. I don't know if it's you're not bound by the pledges or if it's just you're
not protected by the pledges.
Yeah, you're not protected by the pledges.
Race piece, no game, no life.
Too good.
Wait, so are you saying?
Lord.
Wait, are you saying if you intentionally lost your race piece, then you would have the right to kill everyone?
If you're not bound
Or to
by
try?
the pledges, then that to me is how it seems like it would work.
Well, could you not? If somebody owned your race piece, wouldn't they just have complete and utter control over you? So you wouldn't be able to fight out anyway.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Hold on.
Don't think about it. Incredible answer.
No, you.
That's what we really want to hear on the explanation point channel.
The old
right?
Deus, the old Deus and the second race, the elves, they make an alliance. They say, we are going to lose our race piece to you on purpose. We're going to kill everyone else. And then the two of us are going to split the world in half. Like, they say, if we lose, then we will trade race pieces.
If they lose against each other?
Yeah, they play a game. The old Deus say, if we lose this game, then we and you will trade race pieces.
Yeah.
Neither of them will be bound by the pledges. They will kill everyone else and split the world in half.
Maybe they would just trade race pieces at that point, though.
I don't know if that would be allowed.
Well,
I think the only thing that's stopping them is God. I don't think Ted is bound by these pledges. Ted just decides to play by them because he thinks it's more fun.
Sure.
Well, because he made them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going through what the 16 Exceed are now, and this is insane.
Yeah, they don't
Imanides
say
has the king piece.
most of them.
The Flugel have the queen piece, so it's not like we said.
Oh.
Okay.
I see.
The bishops are shared between the dwarves and the Ex Machina.
What the fuck is the Ex Machina?
They're
Are they
mechs, they're
mechanites?
machines.
Oh,
The knights are given to the Seiren and the Vampire.
I get
Vampires?
No, not vampires.
Please tell me this.
No, the
Vampire.
Please tell me the Seiren are fucking werewolves.
I'm sure they're mermaid people.
I think they're. Yeah, I was about to say they're probably sirens.
I'm not allowed
that
to
makes
show
more
the
sense.
image on this wiki article on stream, but they're mermaid people.
Okay.
Sorry, what are the Lumana? Humanoid in appearance with features resembling that of one-horned rabbits?
One-horned rabbit.
What?
They're
That's like a mythical
Almirages,
creature.
it seems. That's
Almirage.
dumb. So you have horny rabbit people. Yes, I'm a comedic genius.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The
Clap,
pawns,
clap.
The pawns are shared between the old Deus, the Phantasma, which the second-ranked race of the Exceed, illusory beings originated from natural disasters that have gained sentience. That's metal.
Holy shit.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
That's insane. Non-autonomous beings whose purpose is to reenact the event they embody for eternity with no real sense of free will.
Then how do they
I'm
play games?
sorry. What show is this again?
Imagine
My
sort of
question is,
walking
how do
up
they
and being
think-
like, "So do you want to play blackjack or like what's up with that?" You know,
To a sentient
How
earthquake.
about we play basketball?
sentient earthquake is crazy.
How are they gonna sexualize that?
Oh, they'll find a way. Have you ever heard of Moemon?
Thankfully, no.
A continental collision caused by a feud between the god. Sorry. Avonheim's phenomenon is a representation of the natural disaster Heaven's Wandering Calamity, a continental collision caused by a feud between gods during the Great War.
How
Okay,
about the
we
place
didn't
that
scratch
Jabril
the
is from?
surface. We did not scratch the
basically the
fucking
moon.
surface of how cool this lore is.
What in God's name?
It's so...
They are able
Oh,
to
no, you cut out.
disfigure dimensions together and warp perceived realities with their greatest spells. The devil, in particular, has shown to be capable of creating multiple races and other highly intelligent beings.
Okay,
The
so I'll
devil
rock paper
exists?
scissors you for my entire life. You know, like
Oh my god.
Oh my god! This is the devil. Give me a second.
No wonder those people on the Discord are like so into this.
This here, that's the devil. Check the
Can you
screen.
just drop the link?
I will.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'm just showing everyone on YouTube.
oh, just
Copy
Oh,
image.
he's just a little guy. He's just like
Yeah,
Tet.
I'll send that to the Discord later.
Oh my
Things
god.
get complicated when I'm streaming, and I'm using a new streaming software today. I have to stop reading this, or that'll be the rest of the stream.
That'll be the rest of the stream.
Jesus
think there
Christ,
are-
that was amazing.
I think those are really cool. Why did they not make more of this show, man?
Apparently, we didn't get to the good part.
Yeah, we never got to any of the good stuff.
Anyway, I don't care what
Yeah.
episode 8 is about. We're done with that.
Episode 9, let's go.
Episode 9.
Fucking Shiro is gaslit by the universe.
Mm-hmm. As Stephanie believes that Shiro's memories may have been tampered with, Jabril challenges Shiro to a game of chess in order to remove the supposed false memories of Sora. Deciding to hold on to these memories, Shiro wins the game of chess and claims that Sora is indeed real. Shiro realizes that Stephanie and Jabril cannot recall what happened the day after Sora disappeared. After further investigation, Shiro recalls that Sora challenged Schlammy to a game of Othello, where the discs collectively make up their existence. The wager to manipulate the memories of their respective partners, Shiro and Feel. After Jabril detects magic in the royal chambers, Stephanie trips on 2 sets of 3 discs on the floor. Using Sora's 3 discs, Shiro places each of them on an invisible, uncheckered board, thereby winning the game of Othello and restoring Sora's existence. With the victory, Sora shares his memories with Schlammy in order to form an alliance and gains the right to alter Feel's memories as he pleases.
Yeah, I was telling when you guys had left earlier. I was talking to Tenek about this. This is the most like whatever game because you literally don't know what's happening throughout all of it. But I was so much more interested in what was happening emotionally with Shiro that it really didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I get that. I wouldn't.
Backstory?
Yeah, this is where we get her
I think we
backstory.
do. I mean, we kind of get a glimpse of that. I don't think the backstory really says a lot more other than she's like such a super duper genius. She could beat people at games before thing one. I think that's what it actually says, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's
I feel like-
also about how she was treated, like emotionally, and looked at as like a robot, at such a young age.
She
Yeah,
was not
messed up.
cared for in a way that a normal human child is meant to be cared for. They just noticed when she was very small, this child is deeply intelligent, and we want to foster that. And we don't necessarily care about her emotional well-being as long as she stays vaguely stable. We're obviously gonna feed her, I guess, but like we're not gonna like socialize her. We're not gonna like she was bored by so many of these things too. She was understimulated constantly, and she was not very cared for. And then she sees Sora, she clocks him, and he goes, "You you are the most interesting person I have met in my life. Please, can you like be closer to me? And she goes, intimacy, closeness, what?
Well, not
You
only
know?
that, but he says specifically, he's like, let's play a game. And it's not like a hey, sit down and play this game against this adult. It's a child, like relatively, they're both still children. That's just like, hey, play with me. And that's so
Yeah.
important in bonds and understanding, to just have that camaraderie there, of another kid. It's kind of reminiscent to me of like Gon and Killua from Hunter x Hunter. Of like Killua being like this fucking weirdo assassin, and Gon just being a child to that Killua can be a child around, right?
It's Stranger Things.
I've never seen
Holy
Stranger
shit.
Things, but sure, yeah.
You make an excellent point.
No, it's the Stranger Things thing, with 11 being a weird psychic kid and Mike being a regular kid, and him being like, hey, come be a regular kid with me and my regular kid friends, and she's like, bitchin'.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. She's got telekinesis and shit.
I still do feel a need to bitch about this episode, so
Please.
I will. You do make a good point that like all this character stuff is important. I just wish the series presented it in a way that didn't really break up the flow of the entire arc of like feuding with the Beast People. Because like I really expected the next episode to just continue with their battle. Instead, it basically takes this diversion. The whole point narratively is just so Sora can tell Clammy and her elf girlfriend that they can be trusted by sharing their memories. But if that's all he needed to do, then he could have just offered it and done it through a game where, I don't know, he loses intentionally or wins.
Blank doesn't lose.
Right, like...
Blank does not lose.
Yeah, but even then, right, like, if he just offered to make some kind of simple, trivial game that could just be a means to sharing their memories, and then they would instantly side with her, no one would lose anything, right? And they could just continue on, not have to...
Yeah.
Like, it's like, she's challenging him for the authority on this decision or whatever. And he says, okay then, here's the rules of the game, and I am wagering my entire selfhood as a person, my soul, basically. It's like, I'm wagering my soul, and by the nature of this game, we are fucking with each other's souls. Which is very fascinating. And because of this, I've decided that we're going to do a little safety net of keeping our partners by us to keep playing the game. And she's like, okay, weird, fucked up game you've put down, but I'm game, I guess. And it's like, that is like a weird, strange thing to just suddenly have happen in the middle of the, by the way, I have bet the entire race piece, and we figured out that video games exist. It's like suddenly just flipping back over to, we're playing Othello with our souls. It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's definitely done there, so you can have all this stuff about Shira and how much she needs Sora, and what happens if like, he was just suddenly out of her life, and seemed to have just been erased from existence. That's why it feels contrived, like... The plot doesn't need this to happen. It doesn't make sense for this to happen in the plot, and this only needs to happen for the characterization stuff.
No, I watched episodes 1 through 7 in one sitting 2 days ago on Friday. And I was like kind of mostly paying attention, kind of doing my own thing, doing some chores at the same time. Like, it's No Game No Life. I've seen it before. And then I watched episode 8 on Saturday after D&D, and like, what the hell is happening? I thought we were doing the Beastman thing. Did I really miss something this important?
No, you didn't.
It started.
No, but I picked the exact wrong episode to stop on.
Yeah, I mean, he does say at the end of episode 8, like, I need one more big piece before we can, go to war with these guys. And that's like, but like that's the only setup, and it's so small. Like it doesn't really give you a clear view of like what is really about to happen. And then, I mean, I guess that's kind of the shock factor of like, oh wow, Sora's gone, right? What's going on? But like, yeah, it comes right before like this big thing where like I thought the Beastmen guys were happening. What's going on?
No, it's incredibly jarring. Very difficult.
I would say it's a weird way to break it up, but also I liked it, so I'm willing to give it a pass.
All right.
Yeah, that's my opinion on it as well.
Sure.
I think episode 9 was no, hold on. When?
We're at episode 10.
We're at episode 10. Okay, yeah.
Episode 10 is called Blue Rose. Schlammy and Feel formally introduced themselves to Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Jabril. However, Jabril and Feel are at odds due to the fact that the former accidentally slaughtered many elves and I did read that right. Accidentally slaughtered many elves in Elvengard during the Great War 6,000 years ago. It is revealed that Schlamy's ancestors were slaves to Feel's ancestors for generations. Though Schlammy and Feel treat each other as equals, Sora tries to convince Schlammy that public bathing is a great way to bond as allies. In the Hidden Library at night, Schlammy tells Sora that they cannot rely on chance and must avoid making any missteps. The next day, Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Jabril visit the embassy once again before the game begins in the arena. Eno informs an observant public audience that the wager will be a Manatee's King race piece and Elkia's territory versus the Eastern Union's entire land. Schlammy and Feel monitor any trace of cheating. Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Jabril, as well as their opponent Izuna, are transported to a virtual reality field that resembles Tokyo. Sora and Shiro enter into a devoid state due to their agoraphobia.
That's a lot of stuff to happen in one episode.
Yep.
So, they said it accidentally. She did that shit on purpose.
I was thinking... Like, that, I may not have been paying attention as closely as I ought to have. But that's not the impression I got.
She was flying over a little elf city, but they have anti-flight magic, so she crashed to the ground. She's like, "Owie, that hurt! I got a bump on my head."
No, you all die.
Hold on, Tenek. You mentioned something in the chat
What's up?
that made me have a thought. No, this doesn't make sense. All right, what I was going to say is that there is a time when Sora bets Shiro's panties, or not Shiro, Steph's panties on a game.
Oh, yeah.
Why can you not say, all right, I bet all of Schlamy's memories on a game?
Oh.
Because
interesting.
Because he has no authority over her? He has no authority over Steph, not explicitly. I guess he's Imanity's king, but Schlammy is Imanity.
But she's also a slave to the elves, so they have
She's
the rights.
Not his
they
property?
have her bird rights. They can't trade her. So that. Oh, that's a sports joke. Nobody gets it. But yeah, no, I think it's just because like Steph is in the immediate group of the king, so he has like, I guess, reign over. I don't think he would just do this with any citizen, you know.
But could he?
Maybe.
I think it would be very funny, or not funny. Like it would be very funny and interesting if like the rules have like soft rules behind them, where it's like where it's like Steph realizes, wait, he can just do that because there's this weird silent agreement between the two of us that we're just together on shit.
It's
and
kind
that's
of vibes
weird
based.
and spooky.
Yeah.
Well, again, I've got to bring
Vibes-based.
this back to Wild Bow's fiction. One of my favorite authors, J.C. McCrae. He writes web serials on parahumans.net. One of his worlds that he made, it's the Pactverse, and magic works on a generally vibes-based system where you are convincing spirits to do things for you. So pretty much whoever is able to convince the spirits they have the most authority over them has more magical power. It's very charisma-based, very tradition-based. And I love that.
I love that.
Because it's like this combination of soft and hard magic. Where there are rules, but if you're charismatic and prepared enough, you can break them. So, like, I'm imagining this situation where Sora can bet Steph's panties because that kind of feels like something he should be able to do. It's like a house rule in a game. Like, we're not gonna look up how all of these intricate interactions work. We're just gonna kind of go with it for now. It's a ruling. There
Yeah.
might be a rule, but it doesn't matter. We're just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
It's not very important.
And the War Beast guy is like, I don't have time to look up the house rules. He's declaring war on me. Like, it's it's happening right now.
Can he do that? Whereas if he had said, I'm betting all of Schlammy's memories on this game, oops, that would be something where the universe is like, all right, we're gonna hammer down the rules now.
Yeah.
Except now they have each other's memories, so technically, like, they have copies of each other's memories.
I meant
so,
before
like,
that, as a means of getting her memories.
Oh, I see.
Could he have said, if I win this game, I want to obtain Schlammy's memories, if he's playing with Shiro, for example? You can bet things you have or things
like
others agree you
those
can.
two
Steph did not agree to that bet.
It wasn't about.
Definitely not agree to that.
Well, I mean, the memories thing wasn't about her or him getting her memories. It was about her getting his.
Mm-hmm.
That was his goal.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Which
just
also-
talking like hypothetical world building shit now.
Yeah. Like, by the way, there was a thing that got left out of the adaptation from the light novels, that when she gets his memories, she like snaps back and is like, holy shit, why are you like sane? You have a really fucked up life. Like, what? And, like, how are you still like functional? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like kind of upset that they took that out.
Yeah. Also, like, I feel like both of them should be having like way more intense identity crises after that incident.
Mhm.
I feel like.
Yeah, how does obtaining someone's memories work? Because it feels like you just get the information in the memories, like a plain text document of all the stuff in them. But if you get the
As opposed to the
actual
emotions attached to
first-person
them?
emotionally impactful memories,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
No, it kind of seems like Sora was just kind of like, or maybe he's just a psychopath, I don't know, but it seemed like he was just kind of like alt-tabbing over to be like, oh, and now I can read her entire Excel spreadsheet of memories, right?
Yeah,
I just
human
assumed
brain
it would
is
be
not
like normal
designed to work
memories.
like
They don't-
that.
Nope.
Okay. Episode 11 is called Killing Giant.
Killing giants. Interesting.
Sora and Shiro snap out of their funk after Ino reminds them that they are in a virtual reality field. Ino explains the challenge will be a game of cops and robbers where they use lovey-dovey guns that shoot heart-shaped bullets against non-player characters in the form of animal girls. I hate that entire sentence. Stephanie remains clueless about the rules of the game. Sora, Shiro, and Jabril battle against Izuna, who manages to evade even the most relentless attacks. When Sora, Shiro, and Jabril hide under a corridor, it is shown that Ino secretly relayed their location to Izuna. Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Jabril then regroup at a park, and Shiro makes a proper and private adjustments to their plan of action. Executing the unspoken plan of action, it is later revealed that Izuna was tricked into believing that Shiro switched sides, but Shiro threw her shirt button in the trajectory of the bullet instead. Izuna soon finds herself in a dire situation when she is cornered by Sora and Shiro. This forces Izuna to use an ability called Blood Break, which augments her physical abilities. Sora would have known that existed. He might not have known she could do it, but he would have known it was a thing.
He did know it existed.
What?
The
Blood break?
Yeah. They explained it earlier in, I think, episode 9? Or no, it might have been episode 10. They explained it
But also,
before
like,
she
how
uses
would he have
it.
prepared for it anyway?
Okay, but I want to bitch about this again now. Or not again. But anyway, this doesn't make sense. Like, they're in a video game. Who cares if she has blood break? Wouldn't it have to be like a game mechanic for she to be able to have blood break in the game?
You know, he's right.
Yeah, that's a good fucking point.
I mean,
I didn't think about
it's
that.
it's sort of a good point. But you could say the same things like Sora is super smart and good at analyzing people. Wouldn't
Yeah,
that
it's
have
just
to be
an-
programmed into the game?
It's just an
Well,
innate
no,
ability.
because- But no, it doesn't make sense. It's not the same because him being smart just influences what decisions he makes. That makes sense. But like, imagine if you could go Super Saiyan. Would it make sense to say that like when you're playing some VR game, you can go Super Saiyan in the game no matter what the game is?
No, but the same thing
Exactly.
can be said of like running. You aren't able to run in the game if they don't program running into the game. Why would they not
Exactly.
program Blood Break into the game? It helps them.
Also, they say Jabril doesn't have magic, but she clearly still has all of her, like, heightened physical abilities because she's, like, running up buildings and shit like that.
She still has the halo around her head, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She has
and,
a little
I mean,
flashy
you can say they made the game. They would obviously want the game to include the blood break. That's true. But then why is it conditional? Why wouldn't she have it from the word go? And then she would have much easier time beating them.
Because it takes a lot out of her?
But why would they program it that way? Why wouldn't they program it to where she could just do it?
Oh, you're saying why wouldn't they program it? Oh, I mean, I don't know.
You see, it doesn't make sense. It's pure spectacle.
Maybe it's because people are watching.
Why does that matter?
She turns it off. Hold on. She does turn it off only after she thinks she has won.
Like, you can say that they want to avoid the impression of cheating so they don't have to go to gamer court about it.
Gamer court? Who's gonna hold them accountable? Everyone is gonna forget what the game even was, right?
Tet's gonna hold them accountable. Sora and Shiro just have to... Like, what do Sora and Shiro have to lose by pointing the finger at Ino and saying, you were cheating in this game, if they lose? Nothing. They bet their race piece. They have no rights anymore if they lose this game.
Yeah.
Or, like, they need to point out a way they cheated.
And also, like, they repeat, like, it's like, we have to prove they cheated. And I'm like, no, you don't, actually. You have to, like, prove they cheated. I'm like, okay, so the proof that they cheated is, like, you're watching this. It's like, just because you don't know necessarily the, like, coding of the game doesn't mean that you cannot tell that cheating is happening. And you can go to Tet and be like, hey, Tet, hey, God, they're definitely cheating. And God can be like, oh, for realsies? Like, looks at the whole situation. You're cheating. Like, God is very personable in this universe. You can just say, hey, Tet, question.
And games are God's area of expertise here.
Yes.
Can you just, like, shout to the sky and be like, hey, Tet, yo, this dude's cheating? And he comes back and be like, hey, yo, you're totally right. Like, fuck this guy.
I feel like it would have to be something very important to do that, or God would get annoyed with you, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't want to annoy God. But I feel like this is maybe slightly besides the point, because my point is just they could program the game to include blood break, and that to not be any kind of cheat. The game is just naturally naturally favors the Beastman. But they instead make it conditional. It's conditional in some way. She can't be on blood break from the start of the game.
I feel like...
So either way, it doesn't make sense.
I feel like the way it would work is that it's not cheating as long as every competitor has all of their natural abilities, but they don't because Jabril doesn't have her magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. I mean,
Tyler's right. The answer is that Blank doesn't care if they're cheating.
But also, it might not be, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe magic can't be programmed into the game. I don't know. Or maybe they just don't want it programmed into the game because they have the inherent advantage, right? Because of physical ability.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is, right?
Sure. Well, we have rule number 10, episode 12, because we've got 10 minutes left in this stream. Episode 12. After easily defeating Sora and Shiro, Izuna lets her guard down and is consequently defeated by Stephanie, piggybacking on a non-player character. Sora bound Stephanie to the 10 Covenants in order to hide her intent, while Shiro calculated the movements of the non-player character in order to hide Stephanie's locations. As Ino announces that Elkia won over the Eastern Union, Izuna laments the fate of the War Beast, though Sora and Shiro assure Izuna of their goodwill. Later on, the Shrine Maiden, the nameless representative of the Eastern Union, challenges Sora to a game of heads or tails in her shrine. The Shrine Maiden chooses tails as Sora tosses the coin in the air, though the coin lands on its edge. Sora convinces the Shrine Maiden to declare both of them winners. This would allow Elkia to share resources with the Eastern Union, while the Shrine Maiden keeps the ability to self-rule the War Beasts. Sora and Shiro believe that the 10 Covenants would allow them to unite all 16 races in order to challenge Ted to a game. In the aftermath, Sora and Shiro request the Shrine Maiden to channel an Old Deus, the first-ranked godly race of the Exceed, for the next game. And then there was never another episode.
Thank God. Fuck you, No Game No Life fans. You don't deserve a second season. Go jerk off the Stephanie tentacle porn.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, I would like this. There's a lot that happens in this episode, but I think um that kind of goes to why like how I feel like I think No Game No Life is pretty well paced, honestly, because even though a lot happens, it never feels like too much is happening. It always just kind of feels like just enough. Like they pack a decent amount into an episode like this one. Um, but it all feels pretty seamless.
I
Yeah.
mean, we were just talking about a very big seam when it comes to the Othello game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but I guess that's kind of the outlier
Yeah.
because
I think
it's
overall, it's fairly fast.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets too chaotic or jumbled in trying to do too many things at once or trying to rocket through its plot. But I think it could be much better. I think it needs to take more time with things. Like, we were all criticizing this show for not setting up its big moments well enough.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you could argue that that's not an issue of the series being too short. It's an issue of half the show being bath scenes.
Yeah. I just think
Okay, let's
because
not
of
exaggerate.
the amount that they're trying to shove in, I don't know, the way that they make it feel, the editing of it, it never even though it is a lot, it never felt like a lot to me. And yeah, there are places where it needs to take its time, obviously. Or just do something outright different instead of fucking bath scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But when it is in the plot, when it is in the thick of things, it feels reasonable and good.
Sure. So with the last 7 minutes of this stream, I would like to announce I'm going to officially call off Anime Club for next month because the last week of December is going to be horrible for everyone, especially me.
Yeah.
So I will see you for Anime Club in January. I will post the poll sometime next month for that. Tenek.
Should we decide now?
Huh?
Just our picks. So we can just pick any one core show like usual
Yeah.
for January. Okay,
You can
Should I
decide
pick?
now if you want to.
Sure, I have a choice. I'm gonna say Baccano.
Awesome. Well, Bakano's going to be back in the
Bakano.
poll again. Tenek, what did you think of No Game, No Life? Rate out of 10.
5 out of 10.
Sounds about right.
I mean, I expected a trashy show. I didn't intend to ever watch this. So this was like the unique circumstance under which I would. So yeah, it was trashier than I expected. The game stuff was pretty disappointing. So yeah, I don't really have much good to say about it.
Mhm.
It's definitely overhyped, probably because people watch this as teenagers, as Tom said.
Yep. Jams, what about you?
After this whole discussion thing, I'm going to keep it at my little 6 out of 10.
Mhm.
There's for all the reasons that I listed throughout the stream.
All right, sounds good to me. And Tom?
Yeah, I've been hearing the arguments against it, obviously, and I'm kind of leaning towards a 6 now. But I probably give it like a 6.5, like a really strong 6. Like it's borderline still 7 to me, but 6, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still at a 5. I feel like I keep asking myself if I should bring it up to a 6 because of the visuals and the soundtrack and all of the other like artistic stuff that is very good. But then I think if the show didn't have any of that, what would it be? And it would be like a 4. So I think a 5 is fair.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, I mean, the production of it does a lot. Like the production of it. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. All right. So that's all for this month. Next month we will be skipping Anime Club. There will not be one. We might have just some various anime discussions on the Discord server, though. So if you would like to get in on that, you can go to patreon.com/explanationpoint to find out how. Link in the description. If not, that's totally fine. I will see you in January. Goodbye, everyone. Gooby, we'll miss you. Bye.
Ta-ta!